MS Now's Ariel Hickson is live on the National Mall, where a protest is just getting underway. MS Now's Nnamdi Egwuonwu is covering May Day events in Minneapolis. Also with us, Eddie Glaude, professor at Princeton, contributor and political analyst. Ariel, from the Washington Monument, an event that is the centerpiece of today's action. Tell us what you're seeing and hearing.
Well, Chris, you can see and hear a really energized crowd right behind me, just steps from the White House. This, as the president is getting ready to depart for Florida. I don't know if you can hear some of the helicopters as well, clearing the airspace for that to happen. This, as thousands are gathering here today to get the attention of President Trump to key issues when it comes for immigration, economic issues, federal rights for workers, as well as environmental issues across the country. It's all part of May Day Strong, a nationwide effort calling for no school, no...
I just got a bunch of bullshit I got to deal with. That's all. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Economic blackout that is happening right now. Now, I spoke to a number of really passionate individuals who say they're quite concerned about what's happening overseas and how that's having quite an impact on the economy here today when it comes to inflation and gas prices. Take a listen. Why are you here today?
To be a part of our community, to hold our governments accountable for.
Welcome back, Ponder Monkey, if I didn't say so. Literally forgot if I did.
Our concerns, what's going on not only in our country, but other countries, how what we do affects everybody.
You have families that aren't able to eat. Aren't able to put gas in our car to drop off our kids and pick them up from school. We have to figure out we should pay the light bill or put gas in the car. It's disheartening rather, but it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Now, in about 10 minutes, this crowd is about to gather together and march right past the White House. At some point, there's going to be a concert where union leaders are expected to address the crowd, get them energized. At this point here in Washington, D.C., it's especially significant that this crowd is gathering because this area has the highest rate of unemployment in the country. According to the Department of Labor, that unemployment rate is at 6.7%. There's a number of former federal...
Hold on, guys. No, did you know this? DLive is dead. No, I was the last streamer on DLive. It's gone. It's gone, dude. No. What's a DLive? My fucking kick doesn't work. Like, I'm already, like, preemptively banned on all these, like, alternative locations. It's only a matter of time before I get banned, you know, on Twitch. DLive dead, dude. No. Oh, no. I'm on Rumble. I got 1 follower on Rumble. Make sure you check that out. I can't believe DLive is dead, dude. That's crazy. When did that happen? It says I'm streaming on DLive. Like, their servers or something are still up. But DLive offline. This is crazy. Oh, no. So long, streamers. Wow. I guess I might as well stop streaming there.
Workers in the crowd who say that today is extremely important for the Trump administration to pay attention to for the future. This, of course, is one of thousands of events that are happening across the country, calling for justice, calling for a number of different groups to come together and really focus on the rights of just so many people.
Thank you so much for that. Keep us posted how things are going there. Nnamdi, you're at an event in Minneapolis. Tell us about the mood and what you're hearing.
Yeah, you we're at an event that really speaks to the intent behind May Day, which of course started amid efforts by workers to advocate for better working conditions. That's what we're seeing happen right now behind me. You can see these are all local 17 hotel workers. They're union workers. They're currently striking as they try to push their employer to give them about a $2 to $3 wage increase. They tell me the goal is just to get a basic living wage. They tell me that the struggle has been real. People I've spoken to have pointed out that this is a largely immigrant, largely lower income workforce. One that I will remind you is still recovering from the surge of immigration agents we saw to Minneapolis, and that surge disrupted business. I just spoke to one striking worker. Her name is Juana. She is Latina. She speaks Spanish, and she was telling me, crying while telling me about how difficult it was not just dealing with that immigration surge, but feeling like she wasn't getting the support she wanted from her employer in terms of support for taking time off. She was fearful of coming in at certain points in order to avoid encounters with ICE. So that really speaks to the spirit of this day. Ultimately, the striking workers I've spoken to tell me that the tenor of this year's May Day feels different because of
this reporter, I've never seen him before. He's doing all right.
Because of the immigration surge I just mentioned, and ultimately because everyone is struggling with higher costs. I want to play you portions of my conversations. Take a listen.
It's fair to say everybody's experiencing an increase in their costs.
Let me see.
Workers and working families are really struggling
Let me see if they're
right
available.
Now, I think all of us are really just getting paycheck to paycheck. Like it's this economy has been really tough, and we're trying to fix that, trying to rebalance those scales.
So just to give you a little idea of what we're expecting here in Minneapolis, this crowd is only growing. We've been here for about an hour, and we've seen it almost double in size as protesters continue to make their voice heard.
LinkedIn
in a couple hours,
has
there's going to be a larger vote with this specific union. As they
I should stream on LinkedIn, guys.
continue to push for better working conditions.
See, I'm not.
Later this evening, there's going to be a much
TikTok,
larger May Day demonstration here in
get
Minneapolis.
banned
They're going to
immediately. What's the
combine
point?
The ICE Out Minnesota effort that still seeks to advocate for immigrants here, while also, again,
use OBS,
supporting worker rights, the right for workers to protest and make their voices heard, try to fight for better conditions.
Monkey.
And
he's
finally,
doing a good
I'll
job.
point out that things are a little bit different here. Where, like, as Ariel pointed out, a big focus of May Day is an economic boycott. Things are different here. They're actually the drive to support local businesses that may have been struggling, specifically Somali-run businesses, Hispanic-run businesses. So the mission here is actually to march down to those corridors where a lot of those businesses are and support them economically, because, again, many of them have been struggling, Chris.
Thanks so much for that, Namdi. Eddie,
All right, so now they're going to cut to this, whatever. I'm not even going to say it. Okay, let's be fucking positive today, but I'm not a fan. Let's just check out some of the other coverage for May Day. Yeah, some fucking suit who defends the Democratic Party. Yeah, let's see how Fox News is covering the May Day protests.
And happening today, get this, schools are closed across the country and workers are calling out for May Day rallies as protesters call to tax the rich, abolish ICE, and more. Can you believe this? They're closing down schools so they can go out and protest. In Madison, Wisconsin, public schools are closed today, with 70% of the teachers' unions saying that they are participating in May Day protests. Our next guest says that Madison schools have crossed the line. Wisconsin mom Scarlett Johnson.
Holy shit. Holy shit. They've all had such just incredible amounts of work done. They barely look human. They don't look human anymore. Hi, James. Good to see you. We're just watching the various outlets covering May Day. The fucking lip fillers. She's got the tucks, the fucking inserts, the fucking Botox, the eyebrows, Botox on the fucking forehead. Jesus Christ, man. Anyway, I love the setup that the host was like, can you believe it? But people are protesting our brilliant, great leader? They're leaving school so they can protest ICE, the amazing ICE? You can see her soul. No, you can't. There's nothing there. This is going to be good. Let's watch it.
Joins us now. Scarlett, thank you so much. What is your reaction?
That's her smile, man. That's her smile. Holy shit, man. I'm sorry to be commenting on a woman's appearance. I really am. I know it's inherently sexist, but the amount of surgery, they look freakish.
I'm in shock, although maybe I shouldn't be considering the history of the Madison Metropolitan School District, but they are turning schools into political staging grounds, and this is where they've crossed the line. They are not just indoctrinating the kids in the classroom, they are encouraging...
Right, because if this was a protest against Democrats, they'd be thinking the same thing. And Republicans have a well-known history of not wanting to indoctrinate our children in schools, right? There's no history of Republicans wanting to force schools to teach kids the Bible, force schools to turn them into military recruitment centers. There's no history of that whatsoever, right? No history of Republicans choosing homeschooling so that they can turn their children into good, obedient soldiers for the Lord. She's so worried. She's so worried. I mean, it's like the lack of conviction as well. You know what I mean? This literally could be a robot reading a script from 20 years ago. Same shit, same propaganda, nothing, nothing new about it. Be afraid, be afraid. They're indoctrinating your kids. They want to turn your kids gay. Welcome back, female eunuchs. It's the same shit, right? Be afraid, be afraid, be afraid.
Actively for students to leave the classroom and go march in the streets with teachers, with administrators. It's just shocking to me, the level that they're willing to take this to, their hatred for President Trump. And make no mistake about it, this entire rally, this May Day...
Can you believe they're not bootlicking our great leader? Unbelievable. I gotta go. I got another surgery.
Friday, May 1st, is all about, this is an anti-capitalist, anti-Trump movement, and they're using our kids as political pawns.
Right, because children have no agency. Right, they're not out there on their own free will. No way, no way. They have to be indoctrinated. Don't surgery shame. That's trans culture. No, that's a good point. This could very well be a drag queen. But no, kids, teenagers, they don't have any agency. It's not possible that they could, be fearing their own future, seeing their own future getting flushed down the toilet by, trophy wives like this, she's snapping her fingers and like, God, wish I could find myself a Bezos. How you doing, Iron? Good to see you. Yeah, well, we're watching it right here, the propaganda in real time, right? I mean, there's nothing more American than protesting. There's nothing more, American than getting in the streets and demanding change. And these fascists are trying to reframe it as, something that's un-American, but only if you do it for left-wing causes. Oh man, James, I'm so jealous. Yep, there's Jeff. Thank you, female. So fucking jealous, man.
I grew up in the South. If this had happened in South Carolina, residents, parents would have been up in arms. They never would have stood for this. They want their kids in school. They want the teachers teaching them math and science and not being out on the streets, skipping class to go protest and to be political.
Wow, yeah. Because that's how you protect your children, is to prevent them from thinking and prevent them from expressing themselves. This is literally fascist propaganda.
Reaction from the residents there.
Oh, they're just as scared as I am. My Botox surgeon was telling me he just can't believe that his teenage daughter is out here protesting Trump when he's done such great things for us.
The reaction from the residents is, I think, a lot of shock. It doesn't matter your political affiliation. You don't want your kids skipping out of school to go protest in the streets. And what's happening is that the teachers' unions, the Madison Teachers Union, made it impossible for...
Oh my God, workers' rights? Workers are slaves. Oh my God, they need to pack the cat.
For parents to say no because they forced the closure of every single school in that school district. When teachers union submitted this petition where they said, we're going to call in sick unless you just shut down the school for this day. So
teach my kids to shut up and work and work and work. Be good little slaves. Park the car on my flat forehead.
Instead of kids preparing for AP testing and their ACTs and SATs.
This is the best they got. Fear mongering that your kids are missing out on a day of school to go express their right to protest. Oh, it's so frightening. Oh,
the end of the school year. Instead of,
I thought it was a good speech. Obviously, I think he should have gone harder, right? The king. But he did call out Trump in, the best that he could. Should have just fucking called him a fascist. Like, you're not a king. And he should have shit all over Trump, but he didn't. He was, Mr. Tiptoe around the tulips. But yeah, whatever. It could have been worse. Could have been like a fawning speech, like, oh, up and coming king. He's gonna be a great king, just like me. So it could have been different.
Educating kids. They're giving kids toolkits, signs, and markers and saying, hey, let's go march in the streets against Trump. They're even having kids hold signs that say teachers should be paid more money. They're using kids as pawns.
Can you imagine paying teachers the same salary that my husband gives me? Can you imagine? Teachers don't deserve high wages. They're glorified babysitters that needs to, they just need to put a Bible in front of the kids and say, if you don't follow this, you're going to be molested by Donald Trump. It's like, what do you, $15 an hour? Try $5 an hour. Come on. Teachers don't deserve wages.
Residents are outraged and they're upset. They shut down daycares.
Scarlett, if you...
Yeah, James, it could have been worse. Like I said, I would have gone harder, but that's me.
Look at the report card in Wisconsin. It's not good. These kids need to be in class. The teachers need to be in class.
Right. No. Show Kentucky. Show Georgia. Show Florida. Show Texas. Right? Show these right-wing areas. Show the stats for the right-wing controlled states. I love it, man.
Grade 4, only 42% are proficient in math.
Oh.
Only 37% are proficient.
We should be worried about it, right? So that's why we praise Donald Trump, who's cutting funding for schools. And we're criticizing paying teachers more. Can you believe we want to pay teachers more when they're doing such a terrible job? If we cut their wages, then these numbers will go up. They don't care about any of this. They actually, the right wing, they love stupid people. They love it. They love uneducated people. So this is just propaganda.
And 31% are proficient in reading. And then look at grade 8.
So you're going to do something about it, right? You're going to vote for politicians that are going to do something about this? Oh, no, not at all, right? You're going to vote for politicians that are cut. Replace textbooks with the Bible, Yeah. And then, welcome to the workforce. Oh, you're fired. We replaced you with a robot. Should have got here sooner. Up by your bootstraps. Why are you robbing me? Why are you breaking into my house? Why are you doing these things? I've given you no opportunity. Cut every opportunity that I could and stuff more money in my pockets. Why is all of society hating us now? The rich. I don't even understand it. Come on. Don't you want to be like me?
Grade 8, down at the bottom of the screen, only 37% in math and 31% in reading. Those numbers are not good.
Teachers' jobs are absolutely critical. I don't know not that important. No, they're critical. It takes a village to raise a kid. Unless you're in my position. But usually it takes a village to raise a kid. And competent, well-paid, enthusiastic teachers are an essential part of that. These people represent a party that wants to, completely cut public education and just, whatever jobs are left, put you in a vocational school, learn, teach you how to twist a wrench, teach you how to, fix a HVAC in a building, and then that's it. They would be perfectly okay. Yeah, not important enough to get paid. Yeah, well, how dare they? If it was up to Republicans, they would teach you just enough to, to do your job, and they wouldn't even care if the plumber is illiterate. They wouldn't even care, right? If the whatever jobs that are left that robots just can't do, they don't care if you know how to read. That's all they care about, is that you know how to do your one thing, and you do that until you die. You do it for a pauper's wage. You do it with a big smile. You don't complain. And then you die in a ditch somewhere at 35, so that you're not any kind of burden on the system that they undercut and underfund. Welcome back, Lenny. Always good to see you from the south of Boston. Accidents waiting to happen. Make sure you're checking it out, folks.
These numbers are terrible, and every year the Wisconsin Department of Instruction lowers.
No, it has nothing. They're terrible numbers. Has nothing to do with the funding. Has nothing to do with how we treat teachers. Derived. I mean, look, she when she was talking about teachers, she, venom in her mouth. Has nothing to do with any of those things. It's the protesting one day out of the year, expressing some dissent against our fascist pedophile leader. That's why these numbers are down. Not any of that other stuff. It's because one day out of the year.
The threshold, they lower the standards, and so they're even worse than what you see right there when you get apples to apples comparisons.
It's a you'd have to be an idiot with Botox in the brain to even believe this argument that that one day out of the year protesting, or maybe let's just say even 5 days out of the year protesting, that these are the reasons why these stats are down. What is she insinuating? That that the teachers are, instead of teaching their kids how to do math or read, they're having struggle sessions around and just looking at Mao's Little Red Book. They're not even reading Mao's Little Red Book. They're just looking at it, praising communism, and they're spending every day at school with these purple-haired bisexual teachers that are teaching them how to shit into human-sized cat litter boxes and praise communism. I mean, what is even the argument here? It's literally just empty, vacuous fear-mongering.
Bottom line, the teachers' unions aren't educating our kids. They're not teaching them to read. Mm-hmm. And when they're not allowing boys in the girls' bathrooms, which they do in this school district, they've eliminated girls' bathrooms. There's only gender-inclusive bathrooms and boys' bathrooms.
Oh,
when they're not,
I guarantee you that's a lie. I guarantee you that's a lie. Do I even need to look it up? It's probably a couple schools have an optional gender-neutral bathroom. Right? Really? Every bathroom in every school in Minnesota, gender neutral. They're letting your little girl pee-pee and poo-poo next to boys who are pee-pee and poo-pooing. And even if that were true, trans for everyone, and by force. By force. They hand you Mao's Little Red Book. They say, okay, we scheduled you for your gender reassignment surgery. What size kitty litter box would you want? Oh, is this Minnesota? Sorry. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying, though. Yeah, is it Wisconsin? I think you're right. Or is it? I don't know. I'm such an idiot. My geography is so bad.
Hiding gender identities from parents.
Yeah, this is Wisconsin. I think you're right.
They're inviting kids to join them to protest in the streets.
Oh my God!
It's gone too far.
They could be learning how to work in an Amazon warehouse or die in a war for our dear leader.
And you know what, Ainsley? The parents are making their opinion known with their feet, because every year this school district has declining enrollment numbers, and
they show the one antagonistic right winger shoving a pro-Trump sign in their face, and they're like, get the fuck away from me, weirdo. How dare you? It's my right. It's my right to be an asshole and impose my will upon you. How dare you?
projected to lose 700 more students in the next few years. Gee, I wonder why.
Gee, I wonder why. I'm not gonna connect any dots for you. We're just gonna insinuate. Gee, I wonder why.
They're pushing their agenda on our kids, clearly.
Clearly. Once again, because right-wingers never do that. They absolutely hate pushing their agenda on children, right? Right-wingers do much, much more than push their agenda on children. You know what I'm saying?
Telling them you don't have to go to school today, go participate in this march. It might not even be something that these kids...
However, the University of Minnesota has several, but that's the only place of learning notes I could find. That was your fact check. They have plans for schools to have one gender-neutral bathroom aside from the gendered ones, but that never came to fruition in any school so far. Thank you, Strategy. I appreciate you looking it up, but did we have to look it up? They're converting every bathroom into a bathrooms with glory holes, and where adult men will sit there hanging dong as you walk in. You won't believe it. They showed their penises. Wait a minute. Is that just the dream I had last night? I don't remember anymore.
Understand, know about, their parents might be conservative and not agree with it. The teachers' unions are...
Yeah. Conservatives, they hate America, right? Because they hate protest, they hate dissent. You need to praise dear leader. That's it.
Pouring more than $1 billion, Scarlett, to left-wing organizations and political groups.
Oh, my God.
Can you believe that? $1 billion to these
that?
left-wing groups. They're trying to indoctrinate our children.
Yeah.
Look at it when it's broken down with the National Teachers Union and the state and local. What's your reaction?
Exactly, Markov. That's why I went to school, for the glory holes and litter boxes. This has been happening for decades. Nothing I love more than going into a gender-neutral bathroom to see my principal hanging dong and encouraging me to poop into a litter box. They do the gender reassignment surgeries right there in the bathroom while hanging dong.
I'm not surprised at all because I've run for school board and I have helped
this whole like Steve Bannon school board strategy, was working really well in Trump's first term, but it's actually kind of petered out. God, she's ugly. I mean, she doesn't look human. I'm sorry. I keep looking at her and it's just like, is this a human being? Anyway, it's like Planet of the Apes over here. Just makeup and surgery. I don't even know what the fuck's going on. But no, I mean, this whole like school board strategy was working really well for a little while. The Moms for Liberty taking over these school boards, pretending, to be outraged, pretending to be afraid, feigning outrage, being the, loudest cry bullies that they could be. But it actually has been backfiring recently. A lot of these school boards, these people that they get in there, they immediately start their fascist partisan, modifications of the rules, right? They just say anything that's liberal, anything that mentions, human beings in any way, right? Like, we shouldn't be teaching children biology in any kind of way. We shouldn't be teaching children evolution. Ban every book. They get in there, they just start banning literally every book. They don't even, books that they haven't read. They don't, any mention whatsoever of homosexuality. Even in a scientific context, right? If it's a textbook that's mentioning any kind of animal that has, properties, right? Because there's some animals in nature that will like change their genders. There's like, worms are asexual, right? They have both sex organs. Right, so any mention of anything at all, ban, and they go way too fucking far. So a lot of these freaks, these fascistic freaks, and look at them, freaks. Look what they do to themselves, right? Her exterior perfectly represents what's going on inside that fucking little noggin of hers. They go way too fucking far, and they're getting kicked off these boards that they've fought so hard to be part of.
Moms run for school board, and exactly, the number one opponent that we face are teachers unions. They have unlimited budgets. There's postcards that come into our state from all over the country.
You're not even banning all
they're
the books.
Organized, they're well funded, and they have a massive attack campaign. We're just regular moms trying to make a difference.
Yeah, regular moms, right. $20,000 earrings, fucking $10,000 worth of makeup, $150,000, $200,000 worth of cosmetic surgery, fillers, Botox, lifts, tucks, right? She's probably on Ozempic. Just regular old moms living in a 50 room mansion, right? Husband buys her everything. She's probably got a fleet of 3 or 4 cars. You know, I bet you her children are beyond insufferable, throwing the N-word around every chance they get, right? Watching Nick Fuentes or Andrew Tate or Calvicular, right? Yeah, these and guess what? You know, guaranteed executive position when they turn into adults, guaranteed to be right at the start at the top of that hierarchy like they deserved it. I'm a genius. I fired all my workers and replaced them with robots. No one's ever thought of that before.
We're fighting against
we have the technology. We can rebuild her. She's already doing enough of that on her own.
Huge woke Goliath. But you know what?
The huge woke Goliath. Remember, we are both strong and also incredibly weak at the same time. Isn't that something?
David wins, and I think they're overplaying their hand here. Parents are seeing just how corrupt and political these organizations are, and I hope that they're realizing.
Right. They're corrupt and political, so let's corrupt them and turn them into political. You know, let's corrupt them and make them even more political. But for us,
they should side with the moms, and we need to revoke.
And what happens when there are hundreds of millions, tens of millions of moms that disagree with you? Well, they need to shut up. They need to sit down and shut up and listen to me. Okay, this is not a democracy. Oh, okay. That's what this is.
The NEA charter as well. They have a federal charter.
Scarlett, thank you so much for coming on with us this morning.
Thank you, Scarlett, so much. Hop into your M3 Benz, your G6. Hop into your G6 to pick up your insufferable children. You know, after going to your daily hair and makeup appointment. I mean, stop. Whatever you're doing, lady, stop. You've done enough. No one's forehead looks like this. You could have a fucking hockey game on this fucking forehead. You could land a fucking airplane on this bitch. What are you doing to yourself? You know, you look like a freakish Barbie doll. I'm sorry, I know it's beyond sexist to be, but they look weird, man. This one hasn't done all that shit. I guess she's still holding on to that, high school, she's got some good genes over here. She hasn't done all that. There's some Botox here, definitely some Botox, but she hasn't done the lips. There's some tucking happening here. Right. But she looks, her lips are all fucked up, man.
Morning. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend. Thank you for spreading fascism and derision on this day of protesting against tyranny. All right. Well, that was exactly what we expected it to be. BRB, need a cig. Yeah, I need a cig as well. Never smoked one a day in my life. All right, so we went hardcore fascist. Let's see what the communists are up to. Revolutionary Communists of America. Let's do it. Make May Day communist again. Just, if you don't know, I think all the regulars are here who probably already know, but I'm a democratic socialist. I don't necessarily agree with all the communist bullshit. And there is some bullshit. Not that the democratic socialists are perfect, but, let's save my criticisms for the next time. Yeah, all the regulars in the chat. Let's see what the communists are up to.
The hated Iran war, Epstein revelations, grinding affordability crisis, and ICE's rampage across the country are driving millions of American workers into struggle against the capitalist system. January's movement in Minneapolis proved that mass working class action can defeat Trump.
High resolution.
More importantly, it demonstrated in practice that the American working class is capable of creatively organizing a mass struggle on its own terms when presented with the opportunity. A militant mood is spreading through the U.S. working class, and it's finding an outlet in mass demonstrations. Workers determined to fight back against the system find themselves with few other options. Despite polls showing that 70% of Americans support trade unions, only 10% of workers belong to one.
Yeah.
The liberal labor leaders...
And that's still too high for the oligarchy. They're still working as hard as they can to undermine them, you know, ask Howard Schultz there from Starbucks.
...are incapable of harnessing pro-union sentiment to organize the unorganized.
How excited are you to vote in November? Hashtag unions for Harris.
On the electoral front, the Democratic Party is even more hated than Trump, and no class-independent mass party exists to mobilize
23
workers.
hours ago.
Since other avenues for struggle are blocked, protest movements and demonstrations are attracting mass participation. Faced with this pressure from below, the labor leaders, reformists, and a section of the liberals have been forced to revive a revolutionary American tradition, May Day. Also known as International Workers' Day, it has its origins in the intense class struggles of 19th century America. The Socialist International, when it was still led by Marxists, spread this day of militant action worldwide.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Kid out of school. These commies have been doing this since time immemorial. Tea room. That looks like fun. I'm going to go there.
Part of the struggle for the 8-hour day.
Federated Seamen's Union. Whoops. Whoops.
Day. Describing the working day in Capital, Karl Marx wrote, "Capital is deadly."
Okay, thank you so much. All right, let's keep the fucking thing moving. You know, I'm not going to get into it, but they got to modernize. They got to modernize commies. That's my big criticism, is you got to modernize this shit. You talking about Marx and stuff, even if it's relevant, you got to connect it to today. I mean, didn't you just watch that incredibly accurate news report? Americans don't read, okay? Anyway, much love to my commie brothers and sisters, and they and thems. But you got to drop the hammer and sickle. You got to drop the fucking Soviet Union bullshit. You got to make this relevant to Americans today. You got to zhuzh it up. They need to rebrand the fucking communists, straight up. And I guess you could say the Democratic Socialists are that rebrand. You know? Oh, you're a sellout. You're a sellout. You're a sellout. Oh, whatever. You have no power. You know? The Democratic Socialists just won the fucking mayoralship in fucking New York. Who's actually winning out here? You're a sellout. You're a sellout. Let's see what Status Quo is up to.
Hey, it's Jordan with Status Quo. We are live right in front of the Wall Street Stock Exchange in New York City on May Day, where protesters are starting to block.
I mean, it sucks, though, for communists, because Karl Marx is incredibly relevant. A good chunk of what the Democratic Socialists believe in is directly from Marx. You know, but there's just so much baggage. There's so much baggage, and there's so many communists that are, you know, so nostalgic for the Soviet Union, you know, and it's like they want to bust into a fucking history lesson every fucking time you talk to them. And it's like, it's not working. It's just not working. Okay. If that shit was working, you know, it's like, we have to be militant. Marx is relevant, but it's just not working. I don't know, man. It's frustrating, because I have a lot of love for communists. I really do. Like I said, you know, the whole idea that it's like communism versus fascism, right? That's ridiculous. They're not, you know, one side or the other of a political spectrum. Karl Marx is incredibly relevant to everyday life. He was a goddamn genius. You know, you got to rebrand Karl Marx, man. Drop the fucking hammer and sickle. Kill that shit. Bin that shit. Okay, you want to have a hammer and sickle flag in your fucking rec room? I'm not tripping. Don't be waving that shit around like it's the 1940s. Ain't nobody want to see the goddamn hammer and sickle talking about the struggle. Okay? Even if it's accurate. And that's the thing that's most frustrating is that like 90% of what they say is totally accurate. But branding, sorry, I mean, it sucks. It sucks how fucking vain the whole modern society is, right? How like, it works. Ask Blackwater if rebranding works.
The entrance at the Wall Street Stock Exchange. This is one of thousands of protests set to occur around the country today. We're live here. Hold on. And here they're trying to block the entrance. You see the police headed. Share this live stream. Smash the like button.
You got Jordan Sheridan there.
You see police blocking.
Yeah, it sucks, waxing
trying to stop the protesters from getting over.
Oh, he's trying to chain himself to the
They're chaining themselves to the entrances of the Wall Street Stock Exchange.
Hey, I love Trump. I love he's doing such a good thing. The price of eggs don't matter. You need to do something worth a damn, and head on over to Iran and die for my war. Oil is going crazy right now. What a hero. What an American hero there.
This is for a May Day protest, which today there's thousands of protests happening around the country. Organizers are urging Americans to not shop, not go to school, and not work. So we see right now 2 entrances being blocked by protesters, and they're jumping over the fence right here. You see shirts that say workers over billionaires. And you see them chaining themselves to
the cop and the civilian trying as hard as they can.
This is an exits of the Wall Street Stock Exchange where Wall Street traders work. And
Woke Patriot is totally correct that there are lots of people who are trying to modernize communism, but we just went to the a big a channel that labels itself as communist, and it's all hammer and sickle, struggle, Marx, and it sucks because it's like I guarantee you I agree with 90% of that. Labor unions incredibly important, but we're this is an info war, folks. This is an info war. And we have to win the hearts and minds of modern day people. That shit was working in the 40s and 50s. It's not working now. Yeah, great quote there. Woke Patriot, right? Socrates did not have the internet. Things are a little different. Of course, Strategy. Thank you so much. Got to do some work on the old server, huh? What do you mean? Can't you just tell AI to do it? Everything's the cloud. Everything's Bitcoin. Everything's AI. Server? What, did you forget your login to Amazon Web Services?
Right now, there's more protesters and security and police.
Human operated.
Smash the like button, share this live stream, get this out to as many people as possible. Again, this is one of many protests for May Day.
Look at these cops protect the fucking rich.
As far as I can see, we are the only independent outlet
these are security guards
here. So please support us. We are on the ground across the country today. We're live here in New York City. We're going to be live in Chicago. We're going to be live later in New York City again, and we also will be live in Minneapolis. Right there you see police struggling, trying to stop this woman from chaining herself to a guardrail right outside the entrance. Their shirts say no work, no school.
I mean, quite frankly, you're there to do illegal stuff. You should be helping the woman, right? She's just watching.
No trading.
Yep, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. It takes courage. It takes courage to show solidarity, right? It takes courage, but there you go.
And whoever's editing right now, definitely get this out on social media, these moments. You see folks waving over here. And what's interesting is there's protesters, but this is also an area where there's common.
Yeah, what is this? This looks like is this a student protest right here? They're not as militant as the other folks.
Tours.
Yeah, these are tours, right? So these are pro-capitalists. These dirty communists trying to fight for my rights. How dare they?
There's commonly tours given for tourists by the Wall Street Stock Exchange.
Right? Yeah. Look, exactly who you expect they are. Like,
by the Wall Street Stock Exchange.
Can you believe they'd be protesting? Whoa, oh my God. My daddy says I get a job as soon as I turn 18. It's so goofy. I can't believe people would be protesting this. Don't you know how to make money on the market?
See right there on the floor? Yeah. So a police officer right now is holding one protester with his arm.
The one scary looking dude. Leave the chicks alone. Interesting.
Behind his back. He's not cuffed yet.
Yeah, those kids should be in school. Don't they know better?
His shirt says no work, no school, no trading. And they're chanting, hey, hey, ho, ho, billionaires have got to go. And let me just give you a couple stats here on May Day so you understand why the hell these people are out.
For the investor in us all. Right. Who owns a majority of the stocks in the stock market? Oh, that must be regular schmucks, regular Joes, just like you and me, right?
Here, and why the proletariat is so goddamn pissed. In Donald Trump's second term as president, his net worth has nearly tripled in his second term, reaching $6.5 billion. The bottom 60% of U.S. households don't make enough money to afford a minimal quality of life. That's according to a study last year by the Ludwig Institute. A record 55% of Americans say their financial situation is worsening. And right there you see an image of that gentleman on the floor. Here's another incident here.
Yeah, buddy. So they're just going to, I mean, it's only a handful, right? So they're just going to systemically arrest all of them.
That man is on the floor right now screaming, hey, hey, ho, ho, billionaires have got to go. And there's more people trying to jump over the fence here. Police are pushing them back. There is a swarm of people videoing this with their phones.
Yeah, Lenny.
Some of them are just kind of bystanders. Some of them are protesters trying to jump over the fence and join the other protesters.
They don't know what to do. Grand majority of Americans have, you know, the entire concept of protesting, as we just saw with that Fox News segment, right? The entire concept of protesting, unless it's for Daddy Trump, you know, unless it's the January 6th protesters, has been, you know, deprogrammed out of them. You know, it's you're foolish, you're disruptive, you're hurting America. They've, through mainstream media, through many different propaganda outlets, Americans have been trained into thinking that protesting is not only useless, but is detrimental. And they don't know how to speak in the language of activism. Right, and this is
right now,
this is why you get like 6, a handful, who are that's it, and then that's it. They're just going to be systemically arrested, and then that's it.
The guy pinned down on the ground by the cop is saying, "Fight back! These billionaires are whack." Remember, smash the like button, share this live stream. Status quo.
Woke Patriot is correct, but we also need to understand that we have to, some of us have to die for this shit. And that's kind of a hard reality for a lot of regular folks to wrap their minds around, is that, this to win, we have to be ready to die for it. And I don't think a good majority of Americans who want freedom against tyranny are willing to die for it. Yeah, exactly. Several have already have, but not willingly. And there's a difference there. And I'm not out there. I'm not out there, dying. Maybe one day. But we have to have that mentality where it's like this is worth it. This is worth it. To sacrifice ourselves completely. This is what we have to do. But don't worry. The greedy oligarchy, every single day taking more and more and more from us, our jobs, any hope at owning a home, any hope at a, comfortable lower middle class lifestyle. Can't even have that. We can't even work like a slave in a cubicle anymore. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point, Woke Patriot. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is just the overall mentality of, sacrifice. But here's the thing is that, they're going to force us into this state of sacrifice. And whether we want to or not, we're going to be starving. We're going to be begging. And that's going to change a lot of people's minds really quickly.
So he's screaming Donald Trump is a pedophile. He sexually assaulted a teen. That's in reference to the accusation by a woman who claims that when she was between the ages of 13 and 15 years old, Donald Trump, both sexually and physically.
Well, I mean, if our system was fair and taxation was fair, then yeah, maybe billionaires wouldn't be the problem. But the billionaires are the problem because they're using their incredible amounts of wealth and power to change the system and, change the system to such a degree that they're, literally taking from everybody else, even the possibility. Well, I'm not saying people have to die, but I'm saying people have to be willing to sacrifice on that level, to beat these guys. We have to be, but what I'm trying to say is that whether we get there on our own or not, it doesn't really matter as much because they're going to do it to us. They're going to sacrifice, we're not going to be able to make money. We're not going to be able to, have a livelihood. Everything's going to be robots. Everything's going to be computer. And Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and the rest of them, Peter Thiel and the rest of them, they think that they're going to be able to create an economy of just elites, of just maybe 100,000 millionaires and billionaires who, are spending money on luxury goods. A very small amount of us, have to do, like I said, HVAC workers and plumbers and things like that. But the grand majority of us will die out. That's the idea. Yeah, I mean, but as long as the paychecks keep coming in, I'm not talking about cops specifically. I'm talking about what the oligarchy is going to do to your average, blue collar guy or woman or they, them, right? Your average blue collar person. They're going to sacrifice for us. They're going to take everything from us. And it's going to be, they already basically have, we're running on fumes right now. We're running on momentum, and we're going to be in a position where, like I said, either we get there organically where we're sacrificing, right? We're the general strike and we're not showing up to work. We're willing to lose our jobs. But we're going to get to a point where there is no jobs, and we're going to be, we're not going to have anything to do anyway, but protest the oligarchy. They think, of course, that they'll be able to use ICE and the cops to intimidate us to such a degree that we won't be able to resist anymore, that, they'll just legally make it legal to kill us, etc. It could work. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Could go either way. It really does depend on, and this is what's so scary about J.D. Vance is, like, does he have the balls to to tell his, to pay the soldiers enough, to pay the foot soldiers enough, and order them to kill, and kidnap and torture whoever's left. Does this Peter Thiel puppet have the balls to institute that level of tyranny, like we see in Argentina, that we see in China, in Russia, right? Disappearing hundreds, if necessary, thousands, tens of thousands, if necessary, torturing, killing, disappearing. Assad is another character that we see doing that. We see that in Iran as well, maybe not on the same scale, but that theocracy perfectly happy to kill thousands, not 42,000 like Donald Trump said. But those tyrants, they have the balls to kill, to hold on to power. It's something that Americans haven't wrapped their little noodle around quite yet. And I think J.D. Vance or someone similar to him is going to have the balls to start killing Americans and kidnapping Americans en masse. Because that's the only thing that's going to, stop it, any kind of organized resistance. We're not going to have jobs. We're not going to have money. We're going to be depending on each other for food and services. Healthcare's in the toilet. Won't be able to afford it anyway. Right? So it's like they're going to be forcing us into position to kind of start organizing in the way and sacrificing in the way that we should have been, years ago. They're going to force us into this position anyway. And their only fallback will be incredibly brutal violence.
He assaulted her.
One thing that will benefit the movement, though, is the eventual economic catastrophe, right? Because you can't have foot soldiers without money. Ask every empire that's ever existed, that's ever come and gone, right? If you're not paying your foot soldiers, if they themselves are struggling just as hard, sure you'll have some of the hardliners, but it's never enough to keep the whole empire afloat, right? They're not without some kind of surgical Neuralink modification. You can't simply make human beings into obedient slaves that are willing to starve themselves. It works in North Korea because they have the resources go towards the oppression. But if they didn't have any resources whatsoever to pay for the foot soldiers, to pay for the army, to pay for the government officials that were disappearing people, right? And it was just literally starving people, and it's like Versailles, right? It's like France, and there's like just a couple thousand elite. No bunkers are going to save you, it just becomes untenable. I think, if we're going in the right direction, eventually capitalism would be destroyed. I think, we need to go in that direction, no doubt about it. We have to heavily regulate capitalism and see if we want to hold on to it at that point. But what's interesting to me about the oligarchy is that they are hurting themselves so much. They're hurting their own ideology so much with their incredible greed. They could save capitalism. They could have capitalism for another several thousand years if they just would pull back on the greed, but they're mentally ill. They simply can't help themselves. So they're, in effect, destroying capitalism by insisting on this, pure form of capitalism, which, let's be real, it's just fascism. No one's doing a better job of destroying capitalism than capitalists right now. Welcome back, Seneca, and all you lurkers out there. Good to see you.
This was in the early 1980s. The FBI, under Trump, interviewed her 4 times. So obviously they found her credible enough to do 4.
All these gawkers, right? They're too afraid. Some of them agree with the empire. They're too apathetic, right? It's going to require a whole lot more suffering, unfortunately, because I don't, how many more YouTube videos can we make? How many more, Twitter dunks? How many more slam dunks? How many more, freeway protests can we do? Any more convoys, right? These we see Greta Thunberg and the rest of them, on these ships heading out to different countries to try and feed people and whatnot. nothing seems to be inspiring people, and it's kind of, capitalist fault, but it's a kind of conditioning. And the only thing that's really going to get these people to hop on over that fence and join the 6 people that are actually aware of how bad the problem actually is an incredible amount of suffering. And that's probably going to be the dollar collapsing. Let's be real. Once the dollar collapses, these people's lives are going to be downgraded severely. They're going to go from, comfortable to straight up suffering, like having to make the same kind of decisions that the rock bottom poor have to make. Do we eat? Do we pay the bills? We don't get hot water anymore. We don't get, electricity's out. Electricity's way too expensive because Mark Zuckerberg built another data center. The oligarchs are setting it up so that we don't even get peace and quiet in our poverty anymore, right? We have to listen to the constant hum of a data center. It's like, well, you don't need a heater because we're heating the entire town with our data center. That's true. Some of these data centers are pumping out so much heat, it's actually literally changing the temperature of the environment that they're in. But I don't mean to be an accelerationist. I don't like accelerationists. I think they're counterproductive, but these people should be crossing, they shouldn't be holding up a phone. They should be hopping over that fence. They're still too comfortable. They're still too afraid. And what is going to be the motivator that gets them over that fence? It seems like the only, because a YouTube video isn't going to do it. Making great points on Twitter doesn't do it. Performative, nonviolent, direct political action isn't doing it, right? You block a freeway to try to tell people how bad the situation is. They're like, I need to go to Chipotle. What are you doing? Get out of my way. And it's going to require Chipotle being too goddamn expensive for anybody but Jeff Bezos and his friends for these people to hop over the fence. The question is, will it be too late? Because, of course, all the power will be concentrated at the very top, super elite, and the one ace in the hole that they have is incredible brutality and violence. And if you want an example of how long a dictatorship can use brutality and violence to hold on to its power, look at China or Russia. There's those people. They don't. Yeah, China's not going to be collapsing anytime soon. Right now, they're taking advantage. They're incredibly authoritarian. No, China's not collapsing. If anything, China is growing right now because the Western neoliberal establishment is running to China as an alternative to the United States. But they don't treat their people with respect. If you go against the state, you get kidnapped. I mean, they've made it so that they can literally steal your money. The Chinese government now, if you're a Chinese citizen, can, if you break the law, they can just take your money. They just make you into a non-citizen. And then God help you if you live in Russia and you hold up a blank sign. They literally kidnap you. Family doesn't know where you're at. You're doing slave labor in some fucking, in some camp somewhere, right? You show up 30 years later, emaciated and mentally ill because you've been tortured for decades. Or worse, or even worse, sent to the goddamn front lines to fight in a war you don't give a shit about. So it's, the elite, they see that, Jeff Bezos sees that, and he knows. It's like, well, we can, with our incredible amounts of power, we can make the world a terrible place for 99% of human beings. We get to live like kings, like kings, like kings that have never lived before, doing whatever we want to whomever we want. Jeffrey Epstein on crack over here. We can do whatever we want. No laws can bind us. And if people get a little rowdy, we torture and kill them. This is how they think. This is the world that they're building.
4 different interviews. Smash the like button, share this live stream. We're trying to see the other entrances that might be blocked right now. This this meeting should have been a tax.
Like, I see what they're saying with the billionaires are clowns, but I don't know about the whole clown nose. It's funny how I've only seen 2 of these protesters with the clown nose and the clown hats. Yeah, I don't know if that's the right direction, guys.
We work, they profit. Wall Street is a joke. Can I ask you guys why you're out here today? And no? Okay. But you see the signs. We work, they profit. So this is some of the organizers out here.
Yeah, I don't know about the clown thing, man. Like, I see what you're saying, but I don't know. I don't know, man. No, unfortunately, China is doing better than ever right now. They're about to take Taiwan and completely get away with it. Their economy is booming. You know, even though, you know, there's definitely some major holes that, you know, the real estate market in China is being covered up, et cetera, right? They're absolutely fudging the numbers in China, but are they on the verge of collapse? Not really, not compared to the West, the United States. There's definitely some stuff that they're covering up. But Europe is running to China, Canada is running to China. They're, like I said, they're about to take Taiwan and absolutely totally get away with it. Everyone's getting fucked in China, but they got universal health care.
Entire country came from stolen.
It's, who knows what the dollar collapse will do, though, right? Because as much as they have, you know, tried to set up a system that is ready, you know, and encouraging Western collapse, like, oh, what the hell is this? Mayday air disaster. Oh my God. Mayday. What is this? Mayday. Some TV show? I've never even heard of that. Worst air disaster. Wow. You only have to get halfway down YouTube and it's like, what's Mayday? Oh, it's this disaster. Okay. It's like, it's all about this now. What? Okay. Let's see. We got some protesters here.
And I wish you could hear just how loud it is here at MacArthur Park. We're talking about thousands of people that have shown up.
ABC is, of course, owned by right-wing oligarchs.
To be heard related to many different causes.
They will take Taiwan,
a lot of
James.
them want to be heard about. It's pro-immigration.
Not that I support. I'm not Hassan. I don't think that'll be based.
I want you guys to look at this. We've been out here all morning long.
Right,
we were out here at 5 a.m. and there were just.
I've never been more confident in my life that they're going to steal Taiwan.
The last few hours, it has just exploded. We're talking about thousands of people out here already. Many of them, we're talking about families, we're talking about unions, we're talking about
that's so cool.
It's difficult for many immigrants because they are afraid, but you have family, you have grandsons, you have sons that can come. Tell your friends, don't be afraid.
We're a city that stands up for the values of family, for our community, and that's.
I don't think China is going to do like a Holocaust or something in Taiwan, but they are going to take over the government and most importantly take over the chip manufacturing in China if Taiwan doesn't completely obliterate it when they see the invasion happening.
Really the purpose of May Day, right? That people come together for voicing what we want.
And this year's May Day marks the 20th anniversary of La Gran Marcha. Back in 2006, the largest public demonstration in U.S. history took place right here in L.A. More than 500,000 people back then marched in pro-immigration protests. And today,
now's the time to do it, John Axel. You know, now's the time to do it.
No shopping. Organizers say an economic shutdown hits those who don't support them where it hurts, right in the pocketbooks. As I wish you could hear just how loud it is here at MacArthur Park.
Right. Let's see. Let's check out this Democracy Now! Coverage. I'm curious.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I
mean, how many May Days has Democracy Now! Covered? Probably 30, 40 at this point, you know? They've probably covered May Day first year of their existence. So however old Democracy Now! Is, they've probably covered every single one. They've been part of the struggle. There I am. See the commie in me right there. 6 or at least 7.
Mimi Goodman in Boston. Juan Gonzalez is in Chicago.
The commie in me
Workers around the world are rallying today to mark May Day, International Workers' Day. In the Philippines, thousands of activists rallied earlier today in Manila, calling for higher wages and an end to the U.S. and Israeli war on Iran.
At first, you might think there's no connection. But as we saw when the war in the Middle East broke out, crude oil and gasoline prices shoot up. There's a domino effect.
But we have to take it. Just because we deserve it doesn't mean that they're going to give it to us. We have to take it. And that's the mentality shift that we need to have. We have to take it. We have to stop apologizing for wanting human rights and stop apologizing for taxing the rich. And there's a lot of us that, that aren't, that don't. But we have to be willing to sacrifice on a level that we've never really sacrificed before. And like I was saying earlier, whether we're willing to do it voluntarily or not, they're going to put us in that position. So might as well get on that horse right now. Learn the language of activism, learn the language of struggling, and start now, because they're gonna be putting us in this position regardless.
Prices increase across the board. Gasoline prices rose by more than 100%, leaving our jeepney driver colleagues with very little income. Many of them no longer want to go out and drive.
I showed you that government statement made just a couple days ago about how, China, Taiwan will always be China. They brought in their little puppet from the government that tried to win the election last I think it was last year was the Taiwanese election. So they got their puppet ready. Last year they did, I think, 1 or 2 major military practice rounds, right, where they surrounded Taiwan militarily, just and did simulations, the big thing that would be preventing Taiwan from doing that is shitting its pants in Iran, once again getting its ass handed to it in the Middle East, showing that it's kind of a paper tiger when it comes to defending its allies, and is wildly corrupt and incompetent. Because, really, Xi Jinping, he does this. Donald Trump's like, hey, what the fuck? Xi Jinping, all he needs to do is get Donald Trump on the phone and compliment him a couple times. Oh, you're so great. And we're going to hook you up with big deals. And this is going to be the best deal you've ever. Hong Kong's a little different because there was a timeline, right? It was like the 90-year or 100-year or whatever that the British Empire, they made a deal and the deal was over with. And unfortunately, a lot of people in Hong Kong, democratically, they wanted to be rejoined into China. There wasn't this, there was an attempt to astroturf a movement against, against integration. But Taiwan, integrating back into China was on the ballot last year in Taiwan. They had an opportunity to vote, basically for this politician that was pro-China, and they voted against that. The Taiwanese people, absolutely a majority, a plurality there. I think they do want independence from China. But no, they're China's ready to do it. There's really never been a better time. There really hasn't been a better fucking time to do this. Like I said, Xi Jinping gets on the phone with Trump and he's like, oh, we'll cut you a great deal with TSMC or TMSC, however the fuck you say it. Right. We'll cut you a great deal. You're so great. You'll be our number one priority. And there's a good chance that Trump would be like, I talked to Xi. We're not going to help out Taiwan. We're not going to, one China policy. Taiwan's basically China already. Not that big a deal, folks. Look the other way. As we've seen with Ukraine, Trump can absolutely be convinced to be on the tyrant side, right? So there's never been a better time, and there probably won't be a better time to do this. I think the big thing that China is waiting for is an economic shock, like a moment of economic turmoil. Maybe not the dollar. I think the de-dollarization is going to take maybe another decade, maybe 5 years or another decade. So I don't think they're waiting for that moment. I think they're waiting for a 2008 like financial crash, which is inevitable in the United States, and then they're going to make their move. Yeah, exactly, Crail. Yeah, all bribes accepted, right? Big sign.
Because they can't earn enough.
In Argentina, thousands.
No, but they won't have to. They won't have to fire missiles at U.S. bases. Like Donald Trump is so corruptible. Donald Trump is so incompetent, as we've seen with the Qatar and UAE. They don't even bother defending their own bases. United States bases got blown up by Iran. All kinds of death and destruction that haven't been reported. In Qatar, in the UAE, and nothing. I mean, fucking crickets. Oh, we're gonna blow you up. Oh, we'll blockade your blockade. They've shown themselves to be completely fucking useless, and completely incapable of actually defending their allies. And if I was Taiwan, I'd be putting dynamite in the chip factories. I mean, I'd be getting that shit ready. I'd be stringing those fucking buildings up and ready to pull that fucking, because that's it, right? That might be the linchpin, right? The ships are coming in, the invasion is happening, and then the Taiwanese government says, you take one more step and we are literally blowing up these chip factories. And the reason why that might work is that these chip factories are able to produce chips, the smallest amount of transistors, on these wafers. No other company on planet Earth actually has the technology to do it. And it would take 10 years or longer to actually rebuild those facilities, even if China were able to steal all the information and steal all the scientists and steal all the expertise. And, they had all the blueprints there. It would take 5 to 10 years at the least, at a minimum, just to rebuild those facilities. I mean, it sucks that we live in this world where nukes make geopolitical sense if you're a country, like Tibet, like Taiwan, like Ukraine, where you're being subjugated, by larger countries that want to take your land. But the linchpin is the chip factories. And if I was the Taiwanese government, I would be rigging them to blow. And I would be kind of letting people know too. I'd let it leak that these facilities are ready, that will be completely demolished if a single Chinese troop, puts their foot on Taiwanese ground. We're pulling the trigger on that. And my God, the economic situation if that happens. I've seen no evidence of that, Quantum. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Taiwanese government would like to see diplomacy instead of military. But the Chinese government has been signaling for quite some time that they want to own Taiwan. They want to take over Taiwan. The Chinese government wants to run Taiwan. They're not interested in working with Taiwan because that would imply that Taiwan has some kind of independence, right? And like I said, the Taiwanese people, they had an opportunity last year to vote on that very subject. You had pro-Taiwan party, pro-China party. And they weren't hiding it, that pro-China party. They were like, we want to reintegrate, we want to, strengthen the ties, but it was pretty obvious what it was. It was like, it was a soft coup. It was a soft coup. I literally, Quantum, I would love to see what links you have to back it up, because I literally showed last week, Saturday, or was it Sunday or Saturday? I think it was Sunday. I showed an official statement by the Chinese government that was one China policy. You're doing what we say. Taiwan will always be China. It wasn't we want to work with China. It wasn't we want to work with Taiwan. right? Where we want to strengthen diplomatic ties with Taiwan. It was Taiwan is ours. It always has been ours. There's no question about that. We're never going to let this go. Okay. Like it wasn't a, let's work this out. It was, capitulate before we do what we want, before we take it over through force, basically.
Workers rallied in Buenos Aires Thursday ahead of May Day to condemn the economic and labor policies of Argentina's far-right president, Javier Milei.
Unfortunately, today in Argentina, the economic situation and the economic plan being carried out by Javier Milei's government are seriously affecting the situation of all.
Yeah, but crypto though, dude, you're not down with crypto. That's why you're a Luddite. You got to be down with the crypto, bro.
Workers, which deteriorates more year after year. People are very angry, very dissatisfied, and they will make that demand felt by taking to the streets of Buenos Aires and the rest of the cities across all Argentine provinces.
In our last segment, we're going to talk with an investigative reporter about her work in India on a people's history of invisible India. But here in the United States, organizers with the May Day Strong Coalition say 3,000 protests and events are scheduled for today, with organizers calling for no school, no work, no shopping. On Thursday, Democracy Now! Spoke with Neddy Dominguez, founding executive director of Organized Power in Numbers and organizer with the May Day Strong Coalition.
Yeah, so I see the tweet that you posted here, Female Eunuchs. The performance. I'm sure this is a great book. I probably should have read it already. But hey, take a picture of me thumbing through this book that promotes activism. I think it's what is to be done by whom? Who is it here? Lenin. By Lenin. What is to be done by Lenin. This is what this motherfucker posts on May Day. Take a picture of me thumbing through this book and looking longly out the window. Not Trotsky. Lenin. Lenin. This is the best we got right now, too. Democratic socialists and progressives that are running for office are running to Hassan to try to get, a little bit of his audience. And this is the best we got. This millionaire pretending like this is the direction we need to go in. Right.
And so we're standing up to say
in honor of Hassan, I got to go to the bathroom.
Really, the billionaires are the only ones that are profiting and benefiting
back
from our harm. And tomorrow, May 1st, to celebrate International Workers' Day and standing up for all workers in the country, we're calling for taxing the rich so our families, not their fortunes, come first. We're calling for no ICE, no war, and no private armies to serve an authoritarian government and power, and to expand our democracy, not a corporate rule.
We're joined now by two guests. In Los Angeles, Pedro Trujillo, the organizing director at the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights and the coordinator of the LA May Day Coalition. And in Chicago, where one is also, Stacey Davis Gates, president of the Chicago Teachers Union, president of the Illinois Federation of Teachers. We're going to begin with Pedro in the streets of Los Angeles. If you can talk about the organizing that's going on in Los Angeles. Last July, immigration agents in SWAT gear and armored vehicles descended on MacArthur Park, where the largest planned rally is happening today. Can you talk about the scale of ICE activity now and the particularly targeting of workers as we discuss this on International Workers' Day?
Good morning, all. And we were just a few hours away from our major demonstration here in MacArthur Park. And as you said, we are standing on the ground that was utilized as a space to intimidate the community just over 6 months ago, close to a year ago, here in MacArthur Park, where Bovino and company descended on MacArthur Park while kids were out here in the park playing. And we have not seen the scale or operations that we were seeing in the summertime and up until the end of last year, but they're still operating in our communities on a day-to-day basis. We're still hearing stories of family separation, of cruelty, and a lot of cruelty in the detention center still. And so that's why we're bringing our group together. That's why we see such a strong coalition coming together, over 120 organizations and unions here in Los Angeles endorsing this march. We haven't seen this level of support, of engagement in a very long time. So I'm really hopeful that we are able to advance our demands, which is that we want no wars. We want education, healthcare funded instead of wars. We want citizenship for all, and we want that people's dignity and that their lives are actually valued, right? That they're not being taken as ways of making money off of people's bodies and their lives.
Yeah, I'd like to bring into the conversation Stacey Davis Gates, president of the Illinois Federation of Teachers and of the Chicago Teachers Union. You're speaking here from Chicago, the birthplace of May Day. Back in May 1st, 1886, thousands of workers in Chicago protested and went on strike demanding an 8-hour day. Could you talk about the efforts of your union to get the public schools to basically shut down so that students and parents and teachers could participate in May Day protests?
Thank you for that. Listen, in Chicago, our union is ran by high school history teachers. And so we thought it was necessary to wrap ourselves in the history of this great city and its interconnectedness to the workers' rights movement. 4 years after the Haymarket Affair, our union was born. In order to make this holiday mean something to the families of this city, you have to speak to the young people and their parents. And so we were able to negotiate an agreement, a memorandum of understanding with the Chicago Public Schools to engage all of our children in teaching the truth about May Day and creating academic freedom for all of us to understand where our empowerment comes from. It comes from community. How do we practice it? With solidarity. And these are the most patriotic and American lessons that we can learn, especially on the 250th anniversary.
You know, I will say this about Hassan's performance of, you know, pretending to read Lenin. You know, I mean, that was a time where extreme militancy made sense and people were desperate. And, you know, they were up against, wasn't it the Russian royalty? Right? I mean, they were up against this tyranny that was not interested in any kind of representation, you know, treated people like slaves. And if we fail at fixing democracy or restoring democracy with peaceful means, we will have to start listening to characters like Lenin, like Stalin, who weren't afraid to embrace some kind of violence, right? We're going to have no choice, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I mean, Graham Plattner doing well. We got Zoran Mamdani in there. We got Spamberger, I think in Virginia. Isn't that where she's at? Showing, you know, that there's another way here. You know, but I keep thinking of that JFK quote, you know, about tyrants who make, you know, peaceful change impossible. They make violent revolution inevitable, in so many words. I always screw up that quote, but maybe I should know it by heart if I'm constantly thinking about it. But they're basically putting us in a corner. They're putting us in a corner. And there is something I'd like to show you here. Banksy put out a statue guy's a genius. You know, he doesn't put, you know, it's a brilliant image of a man in a business suit, politician assumed, right, with a, you know, proudly and confidently, you know, holding a flag as it blows into his face, right, about to step off the edge, about to step, you know, off into oblivion. And he chose to not do any kind of nation, any kind of symbol, you know, particularly saying, you know, it's you know, it's MAGA, or it's this movement, it's that movement. Because it's these fucking people in general, right? Whatever, you know, whatever ideology that they claim to have, it's these confidently ignorant sociopaths in every country right now that we're you know, every country right now has these groups of sociopaths, you know, confidently, blindly steering society into oblivion. And you know what Banksy isn't showing, though, is the millions and millions of people that are following this person. Right? They can see it. They can see the nationalism, right? The flag covering up, blinding this person. They can see that this person's about to walk off the cliff, and yet they still follow. They still follow. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Everything about it is brilliant too. Like the confident stance that, you know, that this person is in, the suit that he's wearing, the flag proudly held, right? The nationalist flag, whatever shape, size, whatever symbol it represents, confidently and strongly held. You know, the foot placement too, right before there's nothing there, right? The confident, full force step forward into oblivion, right? The millisecond before these incompetent, narcissistic, greedy, you know, sociopaths, usually pedophilic as well, right? The millisecond before they realize they're walking right off the cliff. And, you know, it's too late at that point. You know, we're giving these guys all the power. We're giving these guys all the, you know, because like their power derives from us. You know, so we're giving them all the ability to do this. And, you know, at some point we do have to, it sucks, right? Because it's like, wouldn't it be nice to just blame them? I mean, but their power derives from us. You know, it's we kind of have to blame ourselves somewhat. We can see it, you know, we can see it. We can see how blind they are. We can see that they're walking off a cliff. It's brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. You know, this very well could become the image of the next 10, 20, 30 years. It's just, I don't have enough eloquent things to say about it. It really is quite a stark image. Banksy is a genius. There's no doubt about it. He's an absolute genius. To say so much with an image, not a single word, right? Not a single word, but it says everything. Brilliant. Let's just get more May Day coverage here while we can. Not a lot of mainstream coverage. I mean, we got Fox News doing its, you know, propaganda piece, MS Now pretending like it supports it. Let's see the AP. The AP is about to be bought up and destroyed. Let's see the AP coverage here.
Gerçek enflasyona, milli gelire göre yılda 4 kez asgari ücrete,
John Axel, that's the question, right? Is that, you know, do we really have to suffer to that level to wake up to this, you know? Because what are people going to do when Donald Trump or J.D. Vance by that time steals the election? He's going to do it. I mean, we've seen, you know, just with these midterms, how, you know, giddy and excited they are. They're, you know, the overwhelming, they haven't put the cap on actual democracy yet. They're trying to gerrymander. What's interesting, though, is that these districts that they're gerrymandering might turn red, or might turn blue, I mean, in the United States. You know, they're you know, they get Georgia and Kentucky and Florida. They're like, oh, you know, red, Florida, you know, red everywhere. But these midterms are going to turn a lot of those districts into blue districts. They're going to see the midterms are going to show them that the only solution is to make voting meaningless, and they're going to try it. They're not going to reform. They're not going to change. You know, especially with Donald Trump in charge. But even after Donald Trump is dead, they're not going to change anything. They're going to double down on their anti-democratic path. Are people going to actually do anything about it when they do it? You know, they're still going to show up to work. They're still going to get home and turn on TV and, you know, sit down on their computer and start playing video games or something, right? Like, you know, you got to change. You got to turn this into a lifestyle of resistance. And is stealing the election going to actually do that? I don't know. I don't know. And I love video games. I love distractions. You can distract yourself as long as you're participating in the 3-step program in nonviolent direct political action, right? You can distract yourself all day if you show up to the protest and whatnot. But if you're not showing up for work, if you're not making ends meet, and you don't have any money to back you up, you know, there's only a certain amount of sacrifice that you can make, especially if you have a family, you know. But even if you don't, like, you like eating, you know, you like having food in your belly, you like having a roof over your head. You don't want to sell your toys and distractions to have to survive. You don't want to live without them, certainly. Can't play Fortnite in your car, especially if you don't have a car. You don't have an apartment, you don't have a job, you don't have a car, right? And it's like that's the kind of sacrifice that people kind of need to make at some level. They're going to make it for us, though. What is to be done? Right, exactly, referencing the Lenin book. And once again, I hate to think like an accelerationist. I hate to, because it feels like defeatism. Yeah, exactly, woke patriot. No, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is that, you know, we gotta kick it up a notch, but that requires sacrifice that people. I mean, you look at the crime rate. Crime rate is actually way down because people have never been more placated. They've never been more distracted. You know, the modern day, modern technology makes it so easy. It's so great. You know, Biden era is 2028. That'll do it. That'll do it. And I hate to think like an accelerationist, but I don't think, you know, back then, you know, they didn't have the computers, they didn't have the TV, they didn't have the services, they didn't, you know, entertainment and distraction wasn't a multi-trillion-dollar industry that was damn good at what it does. You know, I mean, because you can fit right into a niche, right? In video games and movie and music or whatever it is, right? Like you could 24/7, you know, completely subsume yourself. And, you know, there's a great example here. I'll show you. Like there's, you know, here we have May Day, right? A very important day of protest. And the two of the most prevalent video game guys, they're not talking about protesting. They're not talking about any of that. It's 20 years of the angry video game nerd, and the gaming historian says goodbye. I don't, do they even mention? Like you can still, even now, you can completely inoculate yourself from politics, from the things that are actually changing your life. And it's like, who am I to tell people to make that sacrifice? Just because I've been forced to sacrifice. But it's like, we have to. We have no choice. We have no choice. But it won't happen. It needs to be taken away from us. And then we'll poke our head out of our little bubbles, right? We're all guilty of this. Right? We will, once the internet stops working, or once we're kicked out of our apartment, we're not making ends meet, then we'll finally be like, hey, what the hell's going on? I want to watch my angry video game nerd. I want to watch, Rust trap-based videos. I want to listen to my, I want to listen to my The Hobbit audio tape that I found on YouTube last night. My Masterpiece Theater, stuff on YouTube, right? Like, I'm absolutely obsessed with YouTube. And we're all doing it. It needs to be ripped from our hands like a pacifier ripped from a baby's mouth. Seemingly. But that's exactly what the accelerationists have been saying. Where I disagree with the accelerationists, though, and this is what I worry about, is that, that rage that will be created won't be funneled, it won't be focused. It'll just be chaos. Because the fantasy of the accelerationists is that, you put enough people into pain and suffering, then the revolution happens. Red letter media is brilliant. But that's the accelerationist fantasy, right? Is that, enough suffering, enough pain, and then the revolution happens. But without the activists, without the organizers focusing that energy, it's just going to be chaos. If Luigi gets a jury nullification.
I'm a Luigi.
Not happening. Not happening. That motherfucker's in jail for life. But he did kill somebody. Right? It's like the person that he killed shouldn't have been murdered in cold blood. He should have been arrested. And his industry should have been reformed. Right? And he should have been fined and feed and saw some jail time. And then there should have been laws passed to change how healthcare is done in this world. But, the neoliberals, they got his back. Hakeem Jeffries, they got his back. Chucky Schumer, he's got his back. And, of course, the Republican Party, they're down for it. My worry is that the pain and suffering will lead to this outburst of righteous anger that will then be turned into an excuse for further tyranny. It'll be like, we see, you can't have democracy. You can't, it'll be intentionally misinterpreted, and then the Scott Jennings of the world will get in front of a TV, get in front of a camera, and say, well, we tried democracy. We tried representative, constitutional government, and it didn't work. So now we have to do dictatorship.
Yeniden zam talebinde bulunan asgari ücret inisiyatifi.
It's like the accelerationists are right about the first part, about how we need to have our pacifiers ripped from our mouths. But then what? Because if, immediately the oligarchy will shut down the internet, right? If things get bad enough, if there's enough, you know, if Hassan starts being effective enough, right? They'll take our internet away. They'll take our ability to organize. The Secret Service shot numerous times at Cole, but didn't hit him. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I got a little time. We could watch that. No, the video is pretty crazy. Actually, I was actually watching it before I started streaming here. See if I can find it. Yeah, this one right here.
Million more questions. Where the hell did the gun come from? Why doesn't the agent do anything? Police K9 unit immediately is on Allen, and the handler pays no mind.
No, it's very suspicious. It's very fucking weird, you know. Absolutely.
Covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, it's JT Siskowski with Status.
And folks, make sure you're liking and subscribing to Status Coup. They're doing great work, you know. The moment they're effective, it's in the jail cell.
There's new video out from the shooting at...
Look, I'm not... Woke Patriot, I'm not saying anything right now, but there is some weird stuff. No doubt about it. I think right now the most egregious thing from this video is the lack of training from that Secret Service officer or whoever, FBI, whoever the fuck they were, shooting directly at their, you know, at their fellow officers there.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner that is only raising more questions about the official narrative that the government is advancing about what exactly happened here and how it happened, the many security failures around this event.
I'm glad SS
what
isn't
was really
competent.
Happening here behind the scenes.
It's really scary. I mean, the person was like firing, you'll see in the video, firing directly at their fellow officers. Is fucking, like, you're trained not to do that.
At the White House Correspondents' Dinner at the
She's
time
like, bang,
of
bang,
the shooting.
bang,
I'm going
bang,
to play
bang.
this video out for you once in its totality, and then we
shit.
will go through and break it down second by second together. There's no audio on it, but I wanted to play it through one time just for you to get the whole sense of it, and then we'll break it down on the other side.
So dude walks in there, and this is pretty wild, because it's like the dog knew what was up. The guy holding the dog was just like, okay, whatever. And they're like, oh, where could he have hidden the gun? Where could he have hidden the gun? Pretty easily. The guy's wearing like a Columbine style fucking trench coat. You could easily put a fucking, you know, long gun in your pants. I don't know if this was a stairwell access or if this was just another, because it's a big hotel. Who knows where this thing was going, but could have just, you know, casually kept walking, knowing that someone was behind him. You know, he just kept walking, and then officer leaves, the dog, you know, pulls the dog away, leaves, and then dude, you know, comes running out like a track star. Well, he just had one, and it's interesting. They're like, I don't know if they're dismantling the magnometer, however you fucking say that. Everyone calls it the mag because they can't say magnometer or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know if he's disassembling it or if he's checking it, but perfect timing here. Doesn't matter because he literally runs through this. So he's like, okay, whatever, no big deal. So then dude runs out, and it is pretty interesting how he like how the officer didn't see that. Like, dude, like, I guess he was able to pull that shit out really quickly. But all of this is within, it's not, you know, I'm not there yet. You know, I'm not saying like false flag. I think he was just a mentally ill guy who's like, yeah, because he's definitely mentally ill, not because of the shooting, but because the guy was basically supporting fucking corporate neoliberal Democrats and stuff. Look at his Twitter, his fucking, you know, social media presence was very normie Democrat. So you can't really see it here. Yeah, these people are ducking and covering. There's a more zoomed out video. These people are ducking and covering not from the guy shooting, but from their fellow officers shooting in their direction.
So that was the full video. Now let's break the whole thing down. The first thing you're going to see is the man who the federal government is alleging is Cole Allen walking into frame here. This version of the video.
This video actually doesn't have the full zoomed out video. Let's see if I can find the full thing here. Yeah, here we go. So this is, I think this is a female police. No, it says police, but Secret Service on her thing. Homie runs out of the fucking room through the magnometer, and I think does he shoot? I don't know if he shoots, but let's just slow this down completely. Let's just go super slow-mo with this, because it's pretty wild. So guy walks away, runs out with the gun out. This is kind of weird. I will say that. Like, this is, let me just get this out of the way here. Sorry about that. But this is kind of weird. How, like, dog's in there sniffing, right? And what is he doing? He's just standing there? He's just standing there with the gun? Or is he just like, he's waiting, like the gun's ready to go? And then as soon as the cop's back is turned, he's pulled the dog away and the back is turned, he then pulls it out? That's all possible, you know? It's not like it's the Charlie Kirk shooting and they're trying to say that the guy disassembled the gun 3 times. Runs out. So Secret Service sees this. She yanks out the blicky. Boom, muzzle flash. I mean, 4, 5. You got 5 dudes right there. Maybe it's not a she. I can't tell. He's got hair. Boom, muzzle flash. Right there in the vicinity of these folks right here. Boom, muzzle flash. Like almost hits this guy. And then another muzzle flash. I'm hearing reports. Kyle Kulinski thinks this guy didn't even get a shot off. And then apparently off camera, they tackle the guy. Right. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not down with the conspiracists that are like, you know, because, you know, he had the Columbine style trench coat. You can very easily pull something out, right? Could have had his back to the cop. The cop was like, okay, whatever, right? I did my due diligence. I let the dog take a look. I took a look myself. He obviously was mistaken, right? What I saw from Texas Paul's stream, the guy in the middle of the stream got one off with a gun in his holster. Really? Fired his gun in the holster? Boom, fires. I mean, like directly at this group of fellow officers. Terrible training. Boom. Just raking. It's a miracle. It's absolutely a miracle. No one was hit. And then he was tackled. And he wasn't anywhere close to the president either. Like this was an absolutely just terrible attempt. He got nowhere close. Nowhere even remotely close to the president. He would have had to gone down apparently like 1 or 2 more flights of stairs. There's a whole other lobby area. Yeah, obviously a ballroom would fix this. Yeah, exactly. Woke Patriot. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they were like packaging up the mag, right? Because they got the box out there, right? Looks like maybe they were boxing it up. I don't know. I don't think anything is. So yeah, there's this other footage of him approaching. That's not him over here. I think he's at the bottom here. Or no, okay, this is him before. I think this is him on his way to his room. Kind of walking around. And then he's got the it's not even a Columbine trench coat. It's just like a regular coat. Whatever, Doug. I could be better. Yeah, sniffer dog. I mean, sniffer's like the dog sniffing everybody, right? But you could easily put a long gun like in your pants, right? He's not walking strange or anything, but you know, some are saying that, you know, the gun was like he picked up the gun from that location. I mean, it's not impossible. Not impossible, but the question is, was this a false flag? I'm not seeing false flag. I'm just not seeing the false flag. Yeah, right arm not moving. Yeah, that's a great point. Kind of stiff, a little stiff. Yeah, a little stiff there. Like he's kind of holding it in place. Doug, this is the latest presidential assassination that happened last Saturday. Which I covered live, by the way. Happened live, and I was right there. Thank you to the chatter who told me about it, you know, when it was happening. Yeah, I'm just not seeing the false flag allegations. Yeah, no, that arm is stiff. Yeah, that's a great catch there. Kind of walking like Frankenstein, you know, kind of holding it in place under his arm there with a coat. Yeah, I'm just not buying the false flag. And it's like, I know Trump doesn't make it, you know, doesn't make anything easy on us, right? Because he's like, ballroom, oh, it's the ballroom, you know, 5 seconds. Everyone's smiling and everyone's like, hey, this is awesome. Well, you know, they're sociopaths, and, you know, they're not connected to reality, right? So, and like the shooter didn't get anywhere close to any of them, right? So they didn't see any of the fucking violence. So it was just more of a novelty for these rich sociopaths, you know, the reporters and the fucking other freakazoids that were actually there. So, you know, Pete Hegseth smiling, and, you know, he's on coke and whatnot. I totally think Pete Hegseth was on coke, man. That jaw was moving, right? But them being all chummy and smiling afterwards, and then Donald Trump taking advantage of the situation. You know, you don't need some grand conspiracy. Like these are mentally ill, narcissistic sociopaths, and they danger didn't get anywhere close to them. So like, yeah, take advantage of the situation, right? Might generate pictures of the whole filming production is faking those pictures. They're intentionally made it. Yeah, I mean, they don't need to go to that level. The lady saying shots will be fired, but weird could have been a coincidence. Coincidence? I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. 5 seconds ago, you had no idea what even this was. So now you have opinions on who did it, what, and whatever. I mean, opinions are like assholes. Everyone gets to have one. I mean, that is pretty interesting, though. How dude walks in. Right. Probably, you know, he's like, maybe he pretended to be on his cell phone or something, right? Like, clearly he walked into this room to pull the gun out. Okay, Doug. That's fine, Doug. I'm just teasing. Like, clearly he walked into the room to pull the gun out, but he had cops and the dog like right behind him. Right? I mean, he should have like said, okay, this isn't going to work. You know, he should have aborted the mission right then and there. Because like, damn, security is tight. Like, I can't even like, because his whole plan was, I'm going to bum rush. Stupid ass plan. I mean, the Charlie Kirk assassin had a better fucking plan, if we even, you know, want to believe the official story there. But what a shitty plan, right? Like, I'm going to get there and just bum rush him. That'll work. I'm fast as fuck, boy. They can't catch me. I don't even know if he got a shot off there. And no coat, by the way. Looks like he takes off the coat. And there is a sling. There is a sling around the weapon there. We can see that. I think he's just a dumbass. I think he's just a fucking dumbass who thought he was going to be a hero. He's a fucking resist liberal, basically. He's a fucking I'm with her, Hillary Clinton, resist liberal. You know, he's not an idiot. He had a, he was very, he was competent in his scientific field, has a college degree. But his social media presence, his politics were not, we're not DSA, we're not communist. It was like all I'm with her stuff, right? It was like Nate Silver kind of stuff. So I just, I think it's just a fucking mentally ill dumbass. This is yet another case of mental illness, people not encourage, there's no encouragement for people to seek help. There's no money for people to get help. And, clearly there was some mental, you can be an extremely smart person. You can have a college degree and a social media presence, but that doesn't mean you're stable, right? I mean, the IDF sweatshirt, that just further backs up what I'm saying, is that he was like a normie liberal. There's a lots of, normie, I'm with her Democrats that support Israel, that support the IDF. It's a very normie Democrat thing to do. I visited, anyone can go visit Israel, right? They want all the volunteers that they can get, to continue their oppression of the entire Arab region over there. It's a very normie Democrat thing for him to do, to support the IDF. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a connection. Like with Jeffrey Epstein, we have way more evidence than him just wearing the IDF sweatshirt that he was connected to the IDF, right? I mean, we had was it Ehud Barak or whatever? We had members of the Israeli government, hanging out with Jeffrey and there's all kinds of connections there. Jeffrey Epstein, yeah, there was lots of connections, Mossad connections there. This guy, him being a normie liberal wearing a pro IDF sweatshirt, that's just in line with that kind of stuff. There's a lots of fucking normie liberals who love the IDF. So let's see if does he shoot? Points the gun. I don't even think he gets a shot off. Did the gun jam? He didn't even know how to fucking use it? Because they said one of them had to go to the hospital. I'm not seeing any muzzle flash or anything coming from his gun. He's definitely pointing it as if he wants to run and gun there. Something doesn't work out. You got Secret Service just lighting up their own. Look at these people back here. Bro, what are you doing? Holy shit. They say it was a shotgun, that he also had a pistol and some knives, right? But that's just preliminary stuff. So we don't know 100% for sure. But yeah, look, I'm not with the conspiracists on this one. Sorry. It's funny how the dust falls from the ceiling right after the shots. I didn't see that, but yeah, I mean, that's a pretty common thing. I've seen that in a lot of shootings. Dust near the camera being unsettled from the shock wave, from the shots being fired. That's a pretty common thing. Got a USA Today report on more American May Day protests. Let's have a look. So these people are with it. These people showed up, right? We got to double these numbers at least to, and stop showing up to work right now for it to actually be effective. Well, I don't know. Rail guns. Railguns in real life have to be mounted to battleships. Okay, this isn't Quake 3 Arena. The handheld railgun. And BBs are not lead. They're not making, no bullets are lead, okay? That shit was from like the old cowboy days. They don't make lead bullets anymore. They make them out of like steel and stuff. I'll fill you full of lead. Shit was like from the 1800s, man. They haven't made lead bullets in quite some time. And BBs, they're like copper and like I think the Red Ryder BBs, they're like copper or steel or something. But I think the gun, yeah, I forgive you, but my Tommy gun don't. Is that from Home Alone? Bullets are lead? No, they're not. I thought they stopped using lead a long time ago. Let's ask the robot. I knew this was gonna come up. Are bullets in the modern day still lead? No, not usually. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Eat it. No, modern bullets are rarely made of pure lead anymore. Historically, lead was popular because it was dense, soft, cheap, and easy to shape, but today most bullets are composite. Lead core with a metal jacket. Pure lead. Okay, okay. Copper alloy bullets, specialty rounds. So steel core, polymer tipped, right? Armor piercing. Gotcha! Gotcha! There's been a push away from lead in some places due to the environmental and health concerns. Lead fragments can contaminate soil and harm wildlife. So while lead is still widely used inside many bullets, so it looks like I was wrong. Okay, I was wrong. It's usually not exposed and often not the only material anymore. Oh, shut up. Because I don't know the fucking metal composite of bullets, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on the Second Amendment? Shut up, woke patriot. Look at this guy. He doesn't even know the difference between a lead bullet and a full metal jacket or whatever the fuck. No. No. I'm actually am allowed to have an opinion about gun violence, even if I don't know that they're not all pure lead. They're not. We were kind of both right, in a way, because they're not pure lead anymore. It's lead core with a metal jacket called full metal jacket. And some modern ammunition uses solid copper or copper alloys instead of lead, especially for hunting or environmental hunting regulations. So we were both right. Oh yeah, you're not allowed to have an opinion. Okay. No, you're wrong, woke patriot, because even if I was a gun expert, gun zealots who advocate for gun anarchy would not listen to me if I advocated for gun safety and gun regulation. I could be the fucking, guy who invented the AK-47. And if I was advocating for gun safety and against gun anarchy, they would still advocate for it. Knowing the metal composite of a bullet doesn't disqualify me from having opinions about gun safety. That's ludicrous. That's totally ludicrous. Now, if I was a lawmaker, right, if I was a lawmaker that was passing a law specifically about certain bullets need to be allowed and certain bullets don't need to be allowed, and I didn't know what bullets were made of, then you would have a good point. I'm a civilian who says we should have, I don't even advocate for gun, taking everyone's guns. I just advocate for taking assault weapons. I find it frustrating. Okay, well, teach a class. What do you want from people? People, don't know everything about everything. They're not fucking genius know-it-alls like you are. Fucking got a story about everything. Did you know the guy who invented the AK-47? I bet you did. I bet you had a fucking drink with him, didn't you? I know stuff. I think he was before my time. You met him. You met him. Are you serious? Holy shit. Look, okay, so this is the images that John Axel was talking about. AI generated. Oh my God. This is dangerous stuff though, because people will believe this. So look at this. I have proof, guys. Look at this. Proof. I may not know what bullets are made of, but I have proof. Look at this. I got proof. Staged. Look at this. Your average grandma, grandpa, they'll buy this shit. This is good. You know, your average conspiracy theorist with Photoshop couldn't come up with something this convincing, this good. This is good. That Hilton has a great bar. Holy crap, case closed, right? I mean, this is good. I mean, this is the danger of AI, though. This is frighteningly good. And schmucks on the internet will absolutely, oh yeah, I saw on my Facebook while I was searching for titties and ass, I was scrolling and I saw this image, dude. It was real. It was real. They were saying it was real. People in the comments were saying it was real. It's all staged, man. This is really good. I can't find any mistakes. Like usually you can find like, where's the AI mistake? Like where's the extra finger, right? Like the text on the clipper here. I mean, maybe this is a little screwed up. It's kind of hard to tell from in the stream there. Right? But it, you know, this guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. Normal human hands. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this guy doesn't have a pinky. There we go. Oh, you can't see it with my head in the way. This guy's missing a pinky. War wound. He's a war veteran. They're always using war veterans now for when they're staging things. He's got no pinky. There you go, busted. He's a vet. But like, it's gotten really good. It's gotten really good. This guy's, I don't even know if he's holding a gun. He might just be making finger. He might just be doing the finger gun. He's got a finger gun over here. Look how long his finger is too. He's got one of those like twice as long human. He's got the ET finger. This guy's got kind of a mutant finger too. I don't know what's going on over here. You know, but like, here's the thing, you know, social media people, they're not scrutinizing photos like this. They're like, oh, wow, dude, wow, look at that. And then they believe it. 15 to 30 seconds. And then they're scrolling on to more ass and titties. And they're telling all their friends, oh, I saw it. I saw proof. I saw proof, dude. Look, okay, so he is holding a gun. He's proper trigger discipline. Is that what they call it, Woke Patriot? Am I screwing that one up too? Hopefully I'm not totally disqualifying myself from having an opinion about gun safety. But no, he apparently in the picture he is holding a gun, but he's got that weird ET finger going on here. He's got a big old long one. This guy too, kind of a long one. It's going almost touches the barrel. He can bring his finger around, wrap his finger around, put it over the hole of the barrel of the gun. Sorry, I called it a hole. How embarrassing! How embarrassing! Gun hole. That's what they call it, right? It's the official term, the gun hole. I do agree with Woke Patriot though. Like I was saying, like if you are making legislation to restrict certain guns, you should have a pretty good idea of what you're restricting. right? I think that's totally fair. But I mean, the AI is not even screwing up the carpet. AI did a great job on the carpet. Yeah, it's freaky. I don't. Is this the real image? Is this, does he just have like a really long finger? Is this like the real image, and then this is the AI image that was generated from it? Always point to the dangerous end. So, my dick. I should always point the gun directly at my dick.
I have lived you, and I have taken you by the hand.
Well, Patriot. I mean, look, you know, there's nothing we can do. I'm not totally ignorant on guns. I was actually raised around guns. You know, was firing guns and hunting deer when I was like 13 years old. But I'm not the Punisher. You know, I'm not reading, you know, Mercenary magazine. I don't know every little thing about the guns. You know, I just assumed that they stopped using lead. I didn't know that they were using lead core bullets, you know, steel wrapped, you know, or copper wrapped in lead. I thought they just cut lead out completely. Turns out that they kind of both. Certain companies make bullets out of copper. Other companies still make bullets, but they use a lead core with the fucking metal composite wrapped around it. Oh, sure you don't, woke patriot. Sure you don't, buddy. Sure you don't. No, yeah. There's no proof of you having opinions about things that you don't 100% know everything about. Yeah, no way. You would never do that. Come on, man. Come on, man. Hey, you know I love you, man. But I'm not going to let you get away with that shit. I'm not going to let you get away with that shit.
Hi, good afternoon, Dina. So, May Day
okay, same here. I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying.
For all people. And already there have been dozens of May Day events here in the city of Chicago, including many happening right now.
We're all kind of faking it till we make it, right? But you know, after Sandy Hook, I feel like I don't need to know every little thing about guns to say that we need to, at the very least, heavily regulate and restrict assault weapons. I think we should ban them altogether. But, you know, you've watched the stream long enough. You know I'm pretty consistent. I think pistols and shotguns and, of course, long rifles, you know, for hunting should be totally legal until society becomes more safe, right? I believe there should be, it would be very hard to do this, right? But some kind of index on safety, on the mental health and safety of society. And if things continue to stay insane, sociopathic, and nihilistic, right, people should have a certain rights to have pistols and shotguns to defend themselves. But if society does get safer and healthier, and, you know, then more restrictions, more limitations should be applied, right? But only, thank you, Woke Patriot. I appreciate that. But yeah, but like, I don't want to, May Day is a international day of protest against oligarchs. You know, it's a international day of protest, encouraging labor unions, you know, workers' rights. You know, the things that the rich people that are running our lives are stripping away from us. What about bears? Well, I mean, you know, like, that's the thing, is that we have to, like Woke Patriot is saying, is like, we got to use common sense, right? Is that, you know, if you're, you know, you should be able to, even if like pistols are illegal, if you're out in the woods, you should have the ability to get a temporary permit to either carry bear mace or, you know, a pistol where you can defend yourself with. Right. But it's like, we got to have, you know, just like, you know, how COVID was, you know, we obviously needed to do a lot of things for COVID, but there were a lot of failures. There was a lot of like heavy handedness when it came to COVID, that made our leaders look incompetent. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with gun restrictions, right? Is that if we're going to, you know, if we're going to take this right away from people,
we have to have systems in place for exemptions and systems in place for, you know, certain areas. Like, you know, if you're a woman living in the middle of nowhere, you should, you know, but pistols and shotguns and everything's illegal, but you're living in the middle of nowhere and the cops, you know, they're like 30 miles away from you or farther, you should get a special exemption to be able to carry a 9mm, right, in your house. You should be able to own a 9mm in your house, not just because, just because society is safe, you know, you're in a vulnerable position. Law enforcement can't get to you right away. You should still have the right to defend yourself. Sure, shotguns as well, right? But I'm just using pistols as an example. But like that's the kind of stuff that we, you know, that people that are advocates for regulating, is it the Second Amendment? God damn it! Now I'm getting all my imposter syndrome kicking in. Yes, well-regulated militia, right to bear arms. But if we're going to regulate the Second Amendment, it has to be from a place of knowledge, and it has to be, you know, common sense. You know, common sense has to be there. There has to be exemptions. Yeah, I agree with that, Quantum Traveler. I agree with that. You know, we absolutely should have the ability to, you know, hunt deer and hunt small game and whatnot. Like we can't have. It's impossible. It's literally impossible to have a society that's a utopia, you know, perfectly safe in every way, shape, or form. I think, you know, most of us, though, I'm sure there's some of us that would disagree, but I'm sure most of us would agree that the number one weapon used in mass shootings are these, like, you know, assault weapons that are civilian versions of weapons that were designed literally for the battlefield, you know, to kill as many human beings as quickly as possible in the most efficient way as possible. And of course, that's the most popular weapon, you know, these AK-47s and AR-15s and et cetera, et cetera. Well, they're civilians. It's basically the same shit, right? With like more plastic instead of metal, but it's basically the same shit. They fire the same caliber. No, they're not. No, they fire 7.772, 7.68 NATO encased rounds. Oh, civilians don't have access to that. Oh yeah, a slight difference of the gauge, but it's basically the same shit, and that's why mass shooters like to use them, right? 30-round magazines or more, just ripping through human beings, because that's what they were designed to do. Velocity matter. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. They seem to do a pretty good job killing folks, the civilian versions. I think we have enough evidence of that. Literally piles of bodies. You know, a lot of the Stephen Paddock, the guy with the high score right now, you know, the Las Vegas shooting, most of those weapons were civilian grade. He seemed to do a pretty good job, right? Sandy Hook, civilian grade. I'm certain of it, right? Almost all of these mass shootings, they use these civilian grade versions of these assault weapons. So that's where we should start. Right? They're not using these assault weapons to hunt. They're not. I would say I would ban them for civilian ownership. I would have a forced buyback program that would give people a good price, you know, like not double, but, you know, better than average, right? So you get like $1,500 or more per assault weapon. Hell, even a tax break. Right, I'd say I'd give you $1,500 cash and a fucking, you know, 10%, you know, discount on your fucking federal taxes or something. Like I would make it really, really sweet to turn those guns in, because I'd be forcing you to do it. But I would have an exemption, and this is where you have to do smart legislation. I would have an exemption for shooting ranges where you could rent an assault weapon and shoot it recreationally, you know, at some targets. You know, it's fun. Bang, bang, bang. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Bang, bang, bang. Get drugs for guns. Sure. Whatever it will take, right? You want some meth? Here you go. That's a fair trade. Right. But, you know, hey, let people have some fun, because it is fun to shoot guns. Okay. And it's like, well, then, you know, then we have to worry about gun store owners going on mass shootings. That's okay. Well, if that becomes a problem, then we remove the exemption. Right. But it's like, you know, if we're going to restrict freedoms, if we're going to restrict liberties and restrict rights, we have to be smart about it. And I think that's what Woke Patriot was getting at. It's like, you know, if we're going to do that, if we're going to take that away from people, we do have an obligation to be informed and smart about it. That's totally fair.
To today's big rally here in Union Park, set to begin at 1 o'clock. Now, already there are dozens of folks out here representing
good exercise,
all aspects of life, starting to unite here in the park. The Chicago Teachers Union is hoping for a huge turnout today to amplify the message, people over profit. The CTU says this day of civic action is a continuation of No Kings protests in opposition to Trump.
Like if they were handing out a pound of weed for like a shotgun, I'd be like, I don't know, man. I might turn in my shotgun. That's a good deal.
Administration policies. Hundreds of people, including CPS students and educators, are expected to be a part of this afternoon's Union Park rally.
The Fox
Originally,
News
the
video
CTU pushed for CPS
that.
to cancel classes, but ultimately a compromise was reached and classes are in session. The district said,
yeah, it didn't look like a very expensive guitar. Woke Patriot over here worried about the guitar, the acoustics of the guitar. It's like, oh man, you're fucking up that guitar, man.
a part of this afternoon's Union Park rally. Originally, the CTU pushed for CPS to cancel classes, but ultimately a compromise.
Obviously, the sale of shotguns would be illegal as well if you're going to do a buyback. But I'm not even interested in banning shotguns or pistols. Like, I just want to do assault weapons and leave it at that, because like until society gets safer, until the incentive to be kicking down your door, right? If you're an old person or an infirm person or a woman or just a regular schmuck, like it happens to regular Joes too, totally, healthy dudes who can defend themselves. People kicking down their doors, breaking and entering, and sometimes, there are maniacs, there are psychopaths who want to do damage. Sometimes they're not there to just steal. Sometimes they're there to actually kill people. Because our society is mental health, and we're not doing anything about mental health. We're not doing anything about poverty. We're not doing anything about, all these issues that kind of create these human beings that want to hurt other human beings. And until society has done something about that, I'm not comfortable taking your shotgun away. I'm not comfortable taking your pistol away. But I am comfortable saying that because your average mass shooter, the gun that they're most likely to pick, you got that scene from The Matrix, you got the gun rack flying in. Which weapon? Oh, I want to kill a lot of kids. Oh, I want to go to a grocery store and kill a lot of black people. What gun am I going to use? AR-15, 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 or whatever, right? Or the AK-47. But, these assault weapons, I feel very comfortable saying we got to get rid of those. And, yeah, make it illegal to own one. Yeah.
Was reached and classes are in session. The district says students need permission from parents and
I totally disagree. This idea that we got to do one thing before this other thing happens. I mean, obviously we do need to primary these cowardly politicians that are not willing to implement these restrictions because they're too afraid, of the propaganda machine, right? So we do need people that aren't cowards. So we do have to, do that. But this idea that we need to do something first before we do something about gun violence after Sandy Hook, no, we need to do something about it yesterday. And if we don't do something about it yesterday, then today is the best day. But we absolutely need to be advocating for it, demanding it. These assault weapons need to be removed from the streets. Yeah, I don't care if they're civilian grade. They clearly are capable of killing dozens and dozens of people in just one mass shooting.
principals before taking part in any civic engagement today. This May Day marks 140 years since the Haymarket affair when Chicago workers were attacked while marching across the city demanding an 8-hour workday. Today's events honor that legacy while continuing to fight for fair labor.
So this whole argument that people with guns are going to stand up to tyranny is ridiculous. Look what we have now. Right? The people with all the guns, the right-wingers who have all their arsenals, they're cheering on the tyranny. Now, do I think leftists and black people should be buying up guns? You know, yes, absolutely. But this idea that, you know, the armed populace is going to stand up and fight against tyranny, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. You know, and the technology, by the way, is so lopsided, right? What is our piddly little civilian arsenals going to do against drones? That, you know, or a fucking Apache helicopter or some fucking plane 2 miles up in the sky, can't even see it, drops a 2,000-pound fucking bomb, blows our ass right up, you know, our entire house with our arsenal, right? Blows it right up to the fucking foundation, right? The whole fucking building collapses. I'm just saying, man, this whole idea that an armed populace is going to stand up against tyranny doesn't seem to be happening. And the technology has gotten so lopsided that if the government were like, if there was really that scenario playing out where it was like the armed populace versus the government would just start dropping bombs from it'd be like Gaza. You know, those people can't defend themselves. You know, they all got small arms. Hamas and the rest of them, they all got small arms. Doesn't matter. They don't even get to see the people shooting at them. Snipers from fucking a mile away. Drones that come flying in, you know, blow themselves up. You got fucking bombs coming up 2 miles out of the air, pinpoint accuracy, blow your shit up down to the foundation. Yeah, I mean, it would be local. It would be like, you know, like the military is too busy fighting World War III overseas, and there's food riots locally, right? But it's like, yeah. I think step one is we have to primary and replace these feckless, cowardly politicians that are actively making bad decisions that are like the Banksy statue, right? Directing us directly off a cliff, right? Walking directly off a cliff. That's where we should be focusing our energy right now, because it is kind of useless right now to be calling for, banning of assault weapons when the people that are in charge are never going to do that, right? They're never even going to contemplate that, and they're busy getting us into overseas war. You're misinterpreting what I said. I'm speaking implicitly that the bans will do a back and forth with nothing really happening, while the people trying to ban assault weapons go back and forth, not accomplishing anything, because that's the point of the circle jerk. That sounds nihilistic. That sounds fatalistic a little bit, in my opinion. Like, we have to try. That really what it sounds like what you're explaining is we should just give up. What's your solution, Mr. Kill, or whatever your fucking name is, LLLKLLL? What are you proposing? Because what I'm proposing is we should be using the 3-step program, inform ourselves, sign up and show up, and then putting in the work, right? The framework for nonviolent direct political action to primary our politicians, left and right. But obviously I'm on the left, right? So I think we should be primarying the neoliberal Democrats, replacing them with characters like Graham Plattner, Zohran Mamdani. We should be getting real progressive politicians in there who actually are going to, consult experts and things like that to actually try to solve some of these problems. Update the well-regulated militia bit. I mean, a constitutional amendment, that's, we might as well be talking about, loading up our U-Haul and moving to the moon. We're not going to get a constitutional amendment in this, partisan political environment, right? With no government, and let the have a shot. How about no? I'm not really, too stoked about, having to be being ruled over by warlords, who broke into the army armory, to the police armory, and now all of a sudden I got to worry about, raping and pillaging fucking warlords who have more power than everybody else because they were able to organize a small group of people and they have more guns than everybody else. Why not let Anarch have a shot? And by the way, I know the difference between anarchy as like a government system and the misinterpretation of, Mad Max style anarchy, but that's just what it sounded like to me, what you were advocating for. Well, you have to educate the public before you can do anything. Well, sure, yeah. I asked for a solution, though. I asked for, what would you, I offered up a concrete solution, right? Which is organizing, activism, and primarying neoliberal Democrats, getting in intelligent, thoughtful progressives that will make changes based off of, right, science, based off of rational thought, hopefully a lack of corruption, right? So that's a concrete idea. What's your concrete idea, Mr. KL? Right? And please don't tell me anarch. You can't even spell anarchy. Okay. Please don't tell me, oh, well, there shouldn't be any laws. The strong should survive. I read half of the Fountainhead, and I think anarch is the way to go. I can't even spell anarchy, but that's what I want.
For conditions and dignity and justice for all people.
Everyone should be an Ubermensch or die.
It's totally absurd to treat
bribery
people as if they haven't contributed greatly to society, to the economy, to the to the heart of this city particularly.
The only power that we truly have is worker power, collective action, and
this is what I'm talking about. This is a concrete solution, right? Worker power, organizing, right?
Important that we actually exercise that right to maintain having that right. So we want to point to each other, and they try to use race or gender or xenophobia or whatever to divide us, but that's because they know that we are the largest class, we are the strongest class, and once we're aware of our power, that they don't have a chance.
Yeah, see, I agree with that.
So again,
organizing, informing ourselves, and putting in the work. Right. And we have to be strategic about it. Right. Like if we don't get the person that we want in the primary, we got to eat shit and vote for the lesser of two evils. Right. We have to participate in this system to fix it, to reform it. That's how the fascists have been winning. Right. They just consistently show up. It's a lifestyle for them. Voting, participating, activism. They donate to their various fascists and racists. Right, they support them even through their pedophilia scandals, and I'm not saying we should do that, but you know what I'm saying is like they got, if you're a Republican politician, it's a good place to be because they got your fucking back. Oh, I got caught fucking my daughter when she was 16. We'll give them another try. Right, and I'm not saying we have to be that disgusting. I'm just saying that we have to be strategic, and we have to be tenacious. We have to win. We have to win. We have to win. And I see it from leftists. So I saw it in the leftist chat today. Right? Oh, just give up. Oh, we don't need government. Just it'll fix itself when chaos takes over. Then everyone will know. Everyone will be social democrats after that. It's like, I don't know, man. Uh-oh. Violent May Day brawl breaks out. Protesters hit NYC. Right. But we have to participate in the primaries. We have to find leaders that we want to follow, you know, and in the cases like Graham Plattner, he's not even a democratic socialist, right? He obviously, you know, fights against Israel quite vociferously, you know, acknowledges what Israel is doing as a genocide. He's a big union guy, big workers' rights guy, but he doesn't want to ban any guns. He doesn't want to, you know, I saw an interview with him and Mehdi Hassan a couple days ago. He's like, no, he's not for an assault weapons ban. Right? And it's like, we got to eat shit on that. He's like, he's not the perfect candidate. Anarchy. He's not the perfect candidate. The end of government. Screw government. You know? And it's like, and here's the thing, like, if to the anarchists out there who understand the difference between anarchy as, you know, like Noam Chomsky style anarchy and like the stereotypical cartoonish caricature of anarchy, we have to start somewhere, right? There's a lot of accelerationists that are anarchists who believe that we're gonna, you know, collapse society, and then we're all gonna, and then we'll start organizing, you know, in the chaos when it couldn't be more difficult, when everyone's starving, when you know, when violence is everywhere, when our social communication tools are destroyed or hampered. Then we're going to magically organize into this, you know, hierarchy-less, you know, society with no hierarchy, and people are going to, you know, en masse, they're going to get on board with our anarchy principles. And it's like, no, people are not going to be aware. People are not going to be aware of that, right? It's going to be too late. So, like, you know, to the anarchists out there, we start with democratic socialism, and then slowly over time, gradualism doesn't work. Mass extreme radical change on a dime doesn't work either. In fact, the only thing that's ever really worked that's pushed us further to the left is those gradual changes. Now, do we rest on our laurels with gradual change that is like so incremental we barely even feel it, that gives fascism an opportunity to gain strength, right, to take over society? Obviously not. Right? Gradual, but gradual doesn't mean glacial. It doesn't have to, at least. Gradual doesn't have to mean glacial. Well, I need to read a lot more, and it sounds like that's yet another book I need to add to my book recommendation section for futures. Boom! I don't even know how to spell book. I don't even know how to spell book over here. I got a lot of reading to do. What the boom? I said book. A book? How do I install a book onto my GameCube? Oh boy, we got a lot of work to do. I'll put that for futures into the book recommendation. Boom? Like a bomb? A book can be like a bomb. It can, you know, can change minds. But what my main message to those, you know, to the people that are even more extreme on the left, I shouldn't say extreme, but more radical, right, than democratic socialists, is that we have to start somewhere. That we're not gonna wait for society to collapse and then in the rubble rise like a phoenix and organize around these principles that no one knows what the fuck they are. They're, you know, what is likely to happen after a major collapse is that right-wing, usually populist grifters are going to use fear and intimidation to whip people up to their side. So this idea that we're going to get our communist or anarchist utopia after society collapses is really, really low. We're actually more likely to get a frightening right-wing fascistic dystopia, a decades-long tyranny. That would be, you know, and that would be all powerful, some fucking monarchy, right? That would be all powerful for decades and decades and decades, and we would have to wait for that power, that centralized power, to then diminish, right? So it's like if we want anarchy, if we want communism, we should start right now with progressivism, with democratic socialism. Get people comfortable with the idea of socialism, with anarchist ideas. And, you know, the only people that would even allow a debate to actually happen in front of the nation's stage, in front of the, you know, on stage in front of the nation, right? Could you imagine an anarchist and a communist debating along with the neoliberal and the conservative in like a presidential debate, right? The best we can get are like independents who are basically Democrats, most of the case, or libertarians who are basically right-wing Republicans who have a gay brother. That's the best we can get in terms of like alternate ideas, right? But only progressives, democratic socialists, you know, people further to the left of the current neoliberal paradigm would even allow anarchist ideas and communist ideas to be debated nationally. And that's where it starts. Because people have the wrong idea. They hear anarchy, they think Mad Max. They hear communism, they think Stalin. That kind of programming requires lots and lots and lots of time and debate, and those ideas need to be accepted in the mainstream, or at least talked about in the mainstream before they're accepted. And there's only one political movement to the left, right? Progressives, democratic socialists, and the like, people to the left of the neoliberal establishment that are even willing to have a discussion like that, right? This fantasy that everything's going to go ass over tea kettle. We're going to have a fucking accelerationist, paradise, right? Fucking full chaos in the streets, fucking, people starving and dying and fucking, and then we're going to do communism, and then we're going to do anarchism. Like, hell no, we're going to fucking scream into fascism. Right? Hey, I'm going to come with you, okay? Right now. But that's it. That's all the time I have today, folks. I got to get going. Got to go pick up my kid. Anarchy is the natural state of human society. See, I disagree with that. But I think we should give people the opportunity to figure that out. Right? But yeah, sorry, Harry. I got to get going here. That was my May Day coverage, right? Thank you to everybody that showed up. I appreciate the conversation. Let's not forget why we're here, right? The 3-step program, nonviolent direct political action. Step 1, we inform ourselves. Step 2, we sign up and show up. And step 3, we put in the work. Big props to Woke Patriot, of course. Always appreciate your interjections. I think they're, very valid. But, back to what I was saying, like, we got to start somewhere, and where we have to start is big honkers, big bazonkas. That's where we have to start. Big, ridiculous boobs, big fake boobs, tits and ass. Wait, where's the guy? Where's the politician with the fake boobs? Is this the dominatrix that the guy? Okay, we'll cover this one later. What are we talking about? So yeah, wow. This is the, okay, wow. Okay, she's so young. I had no idea. All right, anybody. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. Free Palestine. And we'll see you again. Power to the people. Maybe if you have time, go out there, hit the streets, hit those May Day protests. I'm in Canada. I don't know if I'll have time to hit it up, but if you have time, go ahead, hit it up. Especially if you're single. Get out there. It's a great place to meet dominatrixes. Get out there. Get your dominatrix on. All right, everybody. Have a drink on me. Have a tankard on me. Thanks again, everybody. Talk to you later. Yeah, find your Lydia love out there, folks. All right, bye.